Show is on the air on a Tuesday. Rain last night. A little murky out there as we proceed and bring you some sunshine. And right now the sun is shining mostly on your Philadelphia Eagles. But there is a discussion that we need to have today. There are two parts to this discussion as we do the show. Bill is here. Ray is here. The discussion point now with the Philadelphia Eagles, since we were such in glowing tribute of them yesterday, after their win Sunday night over the Rams, where we've proclaimed them to be a Super Bowl contender, where we proclaimed them to go head-to-head with the Detroit Lions for NFC supremacy at the end of this whole journey, and whether they are the better team than the Detroit Lions, and whether that is influenced by where they'll play that NFC title game. But the bigger question now that we have set the Eagles up for Super Bowl success is this. What is your level of expectation? I'm talking to Eagle Nation. What is your level of expectation now? Because sometimes you get so convinced of a team's worth that you go overboard and say it would be a colossal disappointment if the Eagles did not get to the Super Bowl. So the question, I guess, if we project ahead, and I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but this is what Sports Talk Radio is. It's about discussion. It's about looking into the future. It's about looking behind. It's all that stuff that entails a good sports conversation. So the question is, if they do not get to the Super Bowl, how much of a disappointment would that be? See, once we got it in our sights, we can't get it out of our sights. It's like the toothpaste is out of the tube, Billy. You can't put it back in. And now people are convinced, oh, my God, could this be a Super Bowl year? And you know what happens if they don't reach that kind of plateau. It's just like the Phillies. When we said, oh, this is a World Series team, and when they didn't get there, it was devastation. So what will this fan base accept now with the Philadelphia Eagles? On top of that, there is a story in today's Athletic about whether the Eagles are worthier than the Detroit Lions. And I can tell you that in this story, most of the football people that were surveyed, I'm talking about coaches and such, say no. They say, I don't think the Eagles are far behind, but let me just read this quote for the people out there to digest, just to get you guys heated up out there. One game, head-to-head, yes, the Eagles could win. Well, I guess that's encouraging because it would only be one game, head-to-head. But if they played 5 games, Philly would lose at least 3 of them, maybe 4 of them, an NFC coach said, whose team has already faced the Eagles. So that quote is saying that the Lions are much better than the Eagles. Bill, your thoughts?
Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning.
Good morning to everybody. Yeah, I am curious as to what the fan base's expectations and maybe more importantly, their requirements are now for this to be considered a successful season. Because you're right, coming in, I would say at least half the fan base didn't have those expectations that this team could be good enough and that the coaching, maybe most importantly, could be good enough for them to get to another Super Bowl. But now that you're sitting here and it's 9-2 and they've won 7 in a row and you look around the NFC and outside of the Detroit Lions, which we'll talk about in a second, you look around and say, why not? Why not the Philadelphia Eagles? Why not getting to at least an NFC championship game and a Super Bowl? So I'm curious if the fan base has changed their requirement where it would be a massive disappointment if it is, in fact, Super Bowl or bust. But when I look at the Detroit Lions, when I look at any team, there's no reason that the Eagles couldn't win. And the article that you're referencing where the Detroit Lions are, they would win, what did they say, 4 out of 5 games? Is that what they said in that article?
4, maybe 4. At least 3, maybe 4 or 5.
I'm just not seeing how anyone could pick against the Eagles right now. When you have a defense that is number 1 in the NFL, Mike, number 1 in yards per game allowed, number 1. And then you have an offense that's top 7 that can run on anybody. We've seen it. Even defenses where they're supposed to have a good rushing defense, and they're going to be going up against another one on Sunday. When you have a rushing attack like that, and then you have a defense on the other side that has shown an ability to shut down everybody, how can you pick against the Eagles confidently against anybody? 4 times the Detroit Lions would beat them in a 5-game stretch?
Then what is it, Eagle hate? This is an NFL coach that said this. Is this Eagle hate? What is it, personal?
I think it's less about Eagle hate, and it's more about the Lions are the sexy pick now. That the Lions, coming into the season, everybody was saying the Detroit Lions, and they've done a really nice job. I can't say that the Lions haven't. They've won how many games in a row? 9? What'd they win in a row now? They're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row. They're 10-1. So I understand the love about the Lions, but to say that they would beat the Eagles 4 out of 5 times is a stretch for me. I think
you're taking that personally. I can tell that you have been offended personally by this.
Well, you know because I'm not a huge fan of the coach.
I know, but your Eagle Green is coming out now. That was a personal insult to you. Just like a little later, we're going to talk about a personal insult to me that I'm going to settle once and for all today.
Oh, boy. We'll see where that one's going.
Yeah.
Now, I don't take it as a personal insult. Here's the other thing, though, Mike, and I've said this a lot about the reason I think the Jalen Hurts hate continues. It's because people, especially analysts, don't like to be wrong. So coming into this season, there were very few who said that the Eagles were going to be a good team this year. I'm talking about nationally, national analysts. There were very few who said, oh, yeah, Nick Sirianni isn't on the hot seat. Every single national analyst put Nick Sirianni on the hot seat. Every single one of them thought this was going to be a bad season for the Eagles. So now that the Eagles are proving everyone wrong, they don't want to admit that the Eagles are one of the best teams in the NFC. So that's why the Detroit Lions are the sexy pick.
Okay, that's fine. So that gets me back to question 1. How devastated would the fans be if this did not happen? You're having it both ways here. Because you're saying that, forget the Lions being the, how could they be the consensus? How can anybody pick against the Eagles? And yet, if people buy into that, their only conclusion then would be, well, okay, then they should go to the Super Bowl. So what are the expectations right now? Since this caught all of us maybe by surprise, especially with this head coach who no one believed in, and all of a sudden they're rolling.
No one?
Well, except
no one,
except you.
It's more importantly his players, Mike. More importantly, his players.
Oh my God, here we go. Coach Bill on the sideline. Oh, that's just players are buying in. Oh, let's go to pep talk now. Yeah, no, serious. This is a serious question for Eagle fans. When you anticipate this season now that they've gotten all this acclaim, and Bill is even on his soapbox right now saying they're better than Detroit. Okay, then. That sets up some tremendous expectations for people. So how are the people dealing with that now? If they don't get to the Super Bowl, would it be devastation? Or would you be going, yeah, you know what? They just weren't quite ready.
See, I'm not going to go as far as saying devastated. And I am curious what the listeners think. But I do think that this is, when you say not quite ready, the defense is young. Yes, the defense is young. But your offensive players, what's the window right now? Saquon Barkley, as amazing as he has been, and we can debate whether or not he deserves the MVP or not, as amazing as he has been, we've seen when you give a running back this much usage, they're usually not as good the next season.
What is he doing now, Ray? What is Bill doing now?
So what I'm saying is,
what side door is he opening here? The
window is this year.
Are you laying down an excuse if they don't get there?
No, what I'm saying is, as much as I'm not saying it's Super Bowl or bust, should it be? Because not only do you have Saquon Barkley, just hear me out on this. Not only do you have Saquon Barkley that has a lot of usage this year, you don't know necessarily what he's going to be like next year coming off of a season where he's going to have 300 damn touches. You also have a weak NFC. There's no guarantee that next season, when you look around the NFC, that it looks like it does right now. outside of the Lions, would we all agree there's nobody that scares you?
Yeah, nobody scares me.
That's not like it usually is. There's times where you go into a playoffs and you're like, all right, this team.
I'm trying to figure out what your point is here. You laid out an excuse. Well, but if they don't get you just got done saying in one breath they're better than the Lions. It's a repulsive that 3 of 4 they would lose 3 of 5 to the Lions. In fact, 4. And now you go, well, now that I think about it.
No, what I'm saying is, and I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves.
Right. What's he doing?
I'm saying next year. I don't want to miss out on the opportunity that you have in front of you this year. You have a weak NFC. You have Saquon Barkley playing at an unbelievable level that no one could have anticipated. And what I'm saying is if they don't win it this season, if they don't come through and win the Super Bowl, there's no guarantee that, one, you have Saquon for 17 games next year, and that the NFC is as weak as it is. Your window right now is there. Your opportunity is in front of you.
Right. Can you sort this out?
Yeah.
What exactly he's saying?
I can do this for you. One, he's not opening a side door. He's closing a window. He's saying the window's this year, and he is doing everything short of saying it's Super Bowl or bust for him.
Well, why won't he say it then?
I think he's a little scared that falls on his head coach.
So wait a minute. So you have laid it all out for you to say that they should go to the Super Bowl or bust.
Yes, it probably is.
And yet, somehow through a back channel, you're saying you would not be devastated if they don't go there.
No, I would be devastated, I think, because look, if they lose to the Lions in the NFC Championship game, I would find that devastating. Would it be a shocker? No. I think that if this team plays each other 5 times, it's an even split as much as it could be. You can't win 2.5 games. But I think it's a toss-up. You have 2 really good teams. But my point is, this may be the best opportunity that the Eagles have to win a Super Bowl.
This is pretzel logic now.
I got the headline for you if you want it. Bill Colarulo says it's Super Bowl or bust.
But this is all pretzel logic. He's twisted my brain into a pretzel. So when we go to a break, we come back. Could you please play me Pretzel Logic by Steely Dan as our take-back song?
Sounds good.
Because he's fully in Pretzel Logic right now. 610-632-0975. But I want to know what the fan base is. Are you in Pretzel Logic or are you resolute about this Eagle team? And how devastated would you be now if they didn't get to the Super Bowl? 610-632-0975 is how you get in to the Mike Missanelli Show by either phone call or text. And we're back after this.
Now is the time to become a
No, this is such a classic. Keep it rolling, Ray. This is what Bill's doing to me today. Ray has no recollection of this song whatsoever, nor does Bill. You both missed the Steely Dan era.
I think we did, Ray. I mean, I know Steely Dan.
Unbelievable to me.
Pretzel Logic.
Classic album, Pretzel Logic. All right, hold it down. Pretzel Logic for Bill. On one hand, he's outraged that the Detroit Lions are favored over the Eagles by many NFL coaches. On the other hand, he's saying, you know what? I wouldn't be disappointed very, very much.
Well, I'm outraged by whoever that was in that article by The Athletic saying that there's a substantial gap. There is not a substantial gap between the Eagles and the Lions. But when we're throwing out the question, is this a Super Bowl or bust season? What I'm saying is this may be the Eagles' best opportunity in the next couple of years to get back to a Super Bowl. Because when you look around the NFC, there shouldn't be a lot of teams that scare you. Yes, you have to get through Detroit. Yes, that would be a tough game. But outside of them, this may be your best chance.
Oh, so then you're saying it's got to happen.
I'm reluctant to say.
Why are you not committal? I don't get this part about you.
Well, let's define it. When we say Super Bowl or bust, if they don't get to a Super Bowl, are we saying that this season is a massive disappointment?
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking you. You don't seem to. You can't have it both ways. You can't say this is their best opportunity to get to the Super Bowl and then say it's okay if they don't.
Man, you know what? As we're talking this through, I think I may be that they have to get to a Super Bowl.
There's only one conclusion. If you're going to come to that kind of declaration that I can't come to that conclusion because right now I'm not totally convinced they're as good as the Detroit Lions. You seem totally convinced that they are. So it therefore follows that you would be devastated if they did not get there. And I want to know if people feel like you or they're allowing for them to say, like me, saying, realistically, maybe they're not as good as the Detroit Lions.
So let me just talk this through with you because here's my reluctance.
Okay.
It's not about the offense. The offense has all of the pieces. You have the solid offensive line. You got Saquon. You have the weapons on the outside. And I do believe in Jalen Hurts, and I think he's good enough to get you back to a Super Bowl. He's done it before. Uh-huh. As good as the defense has been, maybe my reluctance to declare it Super Bowl or bust is how young they are on defense. You're going to have two rookies in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in your starting lineup down the stretch. You have Jalen Carter, who's a second-year player. You just lost Brandon Graham on the edge, so now you're rolling with Nolan Smith, rookie Jalix Hunt. You still have a lot of young pieces on that defense. You got a guy in Zach Bond who's never really played the position before. That's my only reluctance to say it's Super Bowl or bust. I do worry about the youth on the defense. Doesn't mean it's not possible, but I don't know if I would declare this season as a complete disappointment if they don't get there. I'm pretzel logicing, aren't I? I don't know why I'm so reluctant to jump in.
This is, listen, this is what you're doing. So there's a reason for it. I can't say your feelings are inadequate, but I think you're looking for a little side door to exit. I think, I don't know that you could proclaim them to be better than the Lions and then not be expected that it's Super Bowl or bust. Yeah, because I'm not saying they're better than the Lions. You are. You're the one saying they're better.
I'm saying that they're on the same level as the Lions.
Okay.
They're on the same level as the Lions. They could beat the Lions. But if they go to the NFC Championship game, if things continue in this direction, and they're on a collision course to meet Dan Campbell, man, I would hate if they lose to him. But if they're on a collision course to meet Dan Campbell and the Lions in the NFC Championship game, and they lose a tight game, I don't think I'm going to be devastated to the point where I say, what a terrible season this was.
No, nobody's going to say it's a terrible season. When you get to the Super Bowl, it's not a terrible season. But what I'm saying is, the devastate. Like, for instance, I'm very realistic about whether they should win stuff. Like, I only get devastated when I know in my heart they're better than the other team and they should win. Which is why I got so devastated all these years when they couldn't get past the NFC title game with Donovan McNabb.
Agreed. Yes. Like when they lost to Carolina, that was unacceptable.
And when they lost to Arizona, that was unacceptable. When they lost to Tampa Bay, that was unacceptable. But when they lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, or lost to the Rams, I guess, right? Or no?
They lost to the Rams in the NFC Championship game. The greatest show on turf.
Yeah, when they lost to that team, I wasn't devastated. When they lost to the Patriots, I go, they're the Patriots. I wasn't that devastated, even though people were devastated in this town. So if they, just now measure it. If they lose to Detroit and don't get there, you don't think that would be more devastating to the people than losing to the Patriots in the Super Bowl? They were devastated when they lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl. You lose to the Lions now with this team. Is that not a level of devastation?
Devastation. So that's why I like this topic today, because I am curious what the fan base thinks on this. Now, I see people in our YouTube chat saying, coach speak. Take it one game at a time. That's not fun, though.
No,
we're trying to have fun
exactly.
today.
Listen, we're not taking it one day at a time because we would say, I'll take it one day at a time. Good night, everybody. And there'll be another show would have to come in here.
Yes. So we're having some fun today.
Right.
You're sitting here. You have a 9-2 football team that's extremely good. You know what the state of the NFC is right now, and there's a real opportunity in front of the Eagles that they could get to a Super Bowl, and that's why we're having this fun conversation.
And this is all current and fluid because I'm reading a headline and it says the Eagles made it clear Sunday night they're a Super Bowl caliber team. So right now is at the height of this Super Bowl or bust type of look at this season. And this is why I want the people to look at it. You're not jinxing any team. You're just giving me your opinion on what this is right now. Project ahead. You know how good this team is. You've been convinced how good they were in front of a national TV audience on Sunday night. And so if you project ahead and you go, oh, boy, if they get to an NFC title game, what would be my level of desperation and devastation if they didn't win that game?
And let me ask one more thing.
Yeah.
I think we could all agree it would be devastating if they don't get to the NFC Championship. Right?
Well,
if they lost in the divisional round or the wild card
that would
round.
be a total devastation.
Wild card would be devastating.
Right. That would be total. So if you get to the NFC title game and you lose, that would be devastation. But if they lose before that, oh, my God.
Yeah, I think we all agree.
It'd be
that
catastrophic.
Would be, yes.
I'm the dumbest coach in the world.
610-632-0975. And on that note, if they didn't get to the NFC title game, would the coach's job be in jeopardy? Would your boy's job be in jeopardy, Bill?
Oh, man. I would say no.
All right.
I would say no, not in light of having another winning season.
No. Yeah, so with number 5, I would say no. 610-632-0975. Mike Missanelli Show. Let's hear what you have to say. We'll go over to text board. We'll get some calls. We'll get to you after this.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Gearing up for the Ravens. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Coming January 25th, the biggest fighting event ever to hit Philadelphia. Knuckle Mania 5 from Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Saturday, January 25th at Wells Fargo Center. The Eagles getting set to head down to Baltimore for a matchup with the Ravens coming up on this Sunday. Ravens started slow last night on Monday Night Football against the Chargers, then raced ahead to win the game 30-23 in a battle of the Harbaugh brothers. Ravens now 8-4 on the season. They're 3-0 against the NFC this season. The Eagles are also 3-0 when it comes to playing against the AFC this season. We're going to hear from Nick Sirianni coming up at noon as he addresses the media. We'll carry that one live for you here on the Mike Missanelli Show. Elsewhere last night in Philadelphia sports, the Flyers lost in overtime at home against the Golden Knights 5-4. They had raced out to a 3-0 lead in that game. Golden Knights found their way back, and the Flyers end up losing that one overtime. They'll be back in action tomorrow night in Nashville against the Predators, and then the 76ers back in action tomorrow night. They will be at the Wells Fargo Center. They've got the Rockets. Again, that's tomorrow night. Pair of days off for the 76ers between games. We'll keep you updated if we hear anything about any of their players' availabilities going into that one. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
97.5 The Fanatic. You can see today, people are watching on YouTube. This is in honor of the Spectrum. I've paid tribute to the Spectrum before with a hoodie. It's another little piece I have.
That's a great sweatshirt.
Great logo because this is in honor of they trotted out the Spectrum floor the other night and the Spectrum uniforms. The Spectrum, if you grew up here, except if you're Ray's age, was a very special venue for people. Sports-wise, concert-wise, ice-capades-wise, Disney on Ice-wise, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I was there, man. I was there for a lot of Flyers games back in the day.
Exactly. If you grew up here, the Spectrum was in your heart. Because it basically, when it came, it was like this newfangled type of building. It was this really interesting design of an arena, and it was perfect for concerts.
Well, by the time I started going, it wasn't the advanced technology type of place.
Yeah, but when it first came out, it was really interesting looking, and it was kind of a precursor to a lot of arenas. They built it kind of like in an oblong area, so like the concert setup was kind of perfect.
Gotcha.
So
I saw my first concert ever at the Spectrum.
And most of us did. Well, who'd you see?
I'm a little embarrassed to admit it. I was 6 years old. New Kids on the Block.
Parents took you to New Kids on the Block. For a 6-year-old,
hang tough.
Yeah, for a 6-year-old kid, that's a big deal.
So
now, my mine was a little different, obviously, because my first concert was way before that. So you're talking about like drug bands,
yeah,
that were playing the Spectrum. But I thought that a little later in the show, I would go back in time and look at the bands that we kind of forget that played at the Spectrum multiple times. And what I'm going to do, since you don't know anything about the Spectrum and those bands.
Well, Ray, was the Spectrum even still standing when you were born? When did they knock that thing down?
2003?
Yeah, so I was around.
Somewhere in that area?
All right, so what do you got?
It was a sad thing.
So I remember the Spectrum, though. You're saying I don't remember.
No. I'm going to ask you how many times a certain band appeared there. Because you would think, well, maybe they were there maybe a couple times. But
I'm looking now. I was 7. It was December 9th, 1990, my first concert ever, New Kids on the Block.
It's a special place in my heart, and I know for a lot of people out there. I mean, to the point of the stinky red seats that were sat in by several million asses over the years, that when they auctioned off these seats, I know some people that owned those seats in their rec room, and they were this red vinyl plastic type of coating on it.
Yeah,
and they literally, sometimes if you got a bad seat, you got that seat a couple days after a dirty ass had sat there. You know?
Yes, you're not wrong on that. You're not wrong on that.
But the place had a certain smell to it for sporting events and also concerts. And I will never forget that scent that came out of the Spectrum.
Never forget the scent.
Now, meanwhile, back to the topic du jour. Let's go to the text board on whether this Eagle or Super Bowl or bust thing applies, or whether people are still like a little billish, a little reluctant to commit.
Billish or bullish?
Both.
Ray, what we got?
We got Leaf from Southwest, who is on the Bills side of things here. I honestly don't feel like we need to win the Super Bowl after the collapse last year. I'm just happy the team is clicking again. I see a promising future for the Eagles years to come.
Oh, come on. Come on. We all see a promising future for years to come. We're talking about right now. Can we get the big splash right now? That's so weak. Who is that guy?
Leaf from Southwest.
Leaf?
Yes.
Come on, Leaf. You're first of all, it's a lie. Okay? If they lost before they got to the NFC title game, you'll be devastated, and you wouldn't be appreciating that they're going to have a reign of excellence for years to come, right?
No. Well, all right, let's play this out, Mike. So right now they're 9-2.
Uh-huh.
Let's assume they don't catch the Lions. So they're the 2 seed, meaning they host a wild card game, wild card weekend. We all agree they lose that, it's devastating. Right, Ray?
Oh, no question.
You would be devastated if they lost the wild card. All right, so we're okay. We all agree on that. They make it to the next round, which is a divisional matchup, which would also be at home. If they lose that game, would it be devastating?
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that.
They'd
So
be
that's
losing
devastating.
at home to a lesser opponent.
All right, so then we're all in agreement that anything less than an NFC Championship appearance, based off of the way this season has gone to date, would be a devastating way to end the season. So it's NFC Championship or bust at the very least.
Yes. This unnamed texter from Texas is right on that one. If they don't reach the NFC Championship game, it's devastation. But they will. This team is destined for the Super Bowl.
Okay, I believe that too. Now,
Well, you just said you asked something before the break.
Two different criteria. If they would have to win in Detroit if what you're saying is true.
Correct.
Like if they reverse this whole thing, and they are in the spot where they're going to host the NFC title game against Detroit, and they lost that, what would be the level of devastation?
Yeah, so if that was to happen, for them to host the NFC Championship, that would mean they're the number 1 seed. They had a first-round bye. They would have to win one playoff game and then host the NFC Championship game. Yeah, I think that would be devastating. If they lose the NFC Championship game at home in Philadelphia on a cold January day against Dan Campbell and the Lions, I think that would be devastating.
So would you be thinking about how bright their future would be if they lost that game?
Hell yeah.
No. Well, that was my point when you were saying I was doing pretzel logic earlier.
Yeah.
My point is, even though the defense is young, and that's where my concerns lie, is that you're going to be relying on a lot of young players, this may be their best chance to make it to a Super Bowl over the next couple of years. Because you don't know if the NFC is going to be this light in years to come. You don't know if Saquon, coming off of a season where he has over 300 touches, is going to be the same guy next year. You saw it with San Francisco. Look what's going on with Christian McCaffrey. So this may be the year they have to.
All right, let's get to another text that will kind of wash away Leaf.
Dan from Phoenix. Maybe this is cowardly. I don't think we're going to wash away Leaf here. But until the Eagles leap the Lions in the seeding, the NFC Championship game is my expectation for them. Detroit's going to be a tough place to win. Not impossible, but tough.
Okay, and I agree with that. In fact, I would not be devastated if they lost an NFC title game there. I would be devastated if they lost it here, and I would be devastated for any other loss that led up to that. Now, if they get to the Super Bowl and they lose, I would have to see whether they line up as the better team, which they probably would not. So if they lost the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be devastated. When they lose a game as the better team is where I get devastated, because that means there's been a failure somewhere along the line.
That's part of the reason in 2022. I was more devastated in 2022 when they lost that Super Bowl to the Chiefs than I was back in, 04, when they lost Super Bowl 39 to the Patriots. Because that was the Patriots. The Eagles were a better team than the Chiefs a couple years ago.
Yeah, but they were still the Chiefs.
They were, but when you're up 10 at the half,
I get
and
it,
Patrick Mahomes limps off the field.
I get it, but you're ignoring the pedigree of the opponent. That's a pedigree team. Yeah, you expect them to do miracle things, even though you may look at it and go, you know what, they weren't as good as the Eagles.
They weren't. That's the most devastated I've been in recent years.
Wow. All right. Let's go to the phones. Jason in Ardmore. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Jason.
My name is Jason. They call me Jay. I'm the biggest Eagles fan people say. Some say we'll lose. I say no way. This is the year we'll go all the way to the east, to the west. Better than the rest. No doubt about it. We're simply the best.
All right, Jason, bringing the heat today.
You're a worse rapper than
Yes,
Bill.
sir. I believe it's Civil War bust, you know. We got an amazing offensive line, you know.
All right, so hold on, Jason. Hold on. If they lose the NFC title game, would you be devastated?
Yes, I would.
You would. If they lost it in Detroit, would you be devastated?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so at least this man is putting it out there, Bill.
He is.
Not like you.
He's bringing the rhymes.
You know, making 3 steps forward and then inching a step backwards.
Right. Look, all right. Look at what the Phillies did, all right? The Phillies won the National League East, right?
Yes,
all right?
they did.
They had a little off time, okay?
Yeah.
But, you know, when it came time for the playoffs, all right, what happened? Nothing. All right? They couldn't seal the deal. This is the year that the Eagles sealed the deal. They've got to get it done.
All right, buddy.
Let's get to work and get it done.
You got
Go Birds, Eagles! Eagles!
All right, Jason. Jason feeling good today.
Jason tried to rhyme.
He was pretty good. He was pretty good. Look what we're doing
It
here.
wasn't pretty good.
Yeah.
That was a terrible rhyme.
All right, let me hear you
Talking
do
about.
it. Let me hear you drop
I
some
can't do
rhymes.
it. I don't ever attempt it.
Drop some bars for us.
You do it. I don't do it. I'm outside of my element. I don't drop bars.
Ray, you're going to drop some bars by the end. First of all,
No.
I do have. Here's what's great that you didn't even realize that both of you have said. Both of you are now expecting this Eagles team to make it to the NFC Championship.
Yes. Yes.
And what you both agreed to a couple of weeks ago is that if they make the NFC Championship, you will join me in the Sirianni love.
No, Mike agreed to that.
I did.
Why, Ray, you're not going to have solidarity with the show?
No,
Man, Ray,
I make decisions for myself on that one.
very disappointing.
I will join the Sirianni love when it feels appropriate. I could join it before then. I could join it after then.
Very disappointing. But you understand my point,
No,
Mike,
I don't. I don't
about
understand any of your points.
Yeah, you understand my point about not that they can't win a Super Bowl in the next couple of years, but this may be your best chance.
Well, this is what I'm trying to pin you down with. Yes, I agree this could be their best chance. And but here's what you said. Well, though, they're young on defense.
Well, that could be like I'm looking for things that could prevent them from beating the Lions. And in addition to the Lions being a good team, are they too young on defense? Do they not have enough edge rushers now with Brandon Graham getting hurt, Bryce Huff on IR?
Well,
These are the issues.
But you're leaving yourself out.
Yeah, I guess I got to just
See,
commit.
I'm being very resolute about this. I'm going, they're good enough to get to the Super Bowl. They're good enough to beat the Lions if the game's at home. I'm not sure they're good enough to beat the Lions there, which would then leave me in a state of flux. But knowing how I react to the past, I would go, well, guess what? That was too big of a spot for them to win in. Because I'm always realistic about whether they're the better team going in, and that's also influenced by where they're going to play that game.
You threw something out before the break a few minutes ago that I want to ask you.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to bring it back around to Nick Sirianni for a second.
So much good.
There were a lot of people who wanted him fired. There were a lot of people who didn't want him to come back. Well, now he's back. They're 9-2. They're almost a lock to, at the very least, be a 2 seed. It would take a total collapse again, probably worse than last year's collapse, for them not to win the NFC East to be a 2 seed. Mm-hmm. So assuming they're a 2 seed, is there anything that could happen where the people who wanted Sirianni fired would get their wish?
No.
Even if they lost in the first round of the playoffs. Now, I would not fire him. I would not fire for Sirianni. Even if they lose game 1 of the playoffs, I think what they've done this year is
I
impressive.
got news for you. You would be in a minority of people. This town majoritively would want him fired if they lost in the first round. Right? Am I lying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The
Guns a blazing.
majority of people, whether it be knee-jerk reaction, but I even think if you had 2 weeks to think about it, they'd still want him fired.
Save a colossal failure of a Jalen Hurts performance, because that would be the only thing that would save Sirianni in the public opinion.
Yeah.
But there's no way, I think we would all agree, whether the fans wanted it or not. If this team finishes the season, let's say they go 3-3 the rest of the way, they would finish 12-5, win the NFC East. Even if they lost a playoff game, I don't think you fire them.
Who are you losing to?
Well, it would be the 7 seed.
Yeah. So who's coming in here and punking you in your own house?
So the 7
when you're
seed,
the 2 seed.
the 7 seed's probably going to could be the Packers.
If the Packers do to you what they did to the Cowboys last year, you think Sirianni's walking up to the podium again in Eagles attire?
You know who it could be again.
If it's the Bucs, man, I can't do it. I won't survive that.
It could be
won't
the
survive
Bucs.
that.
Well, I'm looking at this the way this is going to play out. So you got your 4 division winners, which should be the Eagles and the Lions. You don't know who's going to win the NFC South or the NFC West yet. But assuming the Lions win the North, the Vikings and the Packers will get 2 wild card spots, but there's a 3rd wild card team now. So is that going to be whoever comes in second in the NFC South, potentially? It could be the 49ers still. They still got a shot. It could be the Rams. They're not out of it yet.
If it's the Bucs, I will bring the I quit sign back. I might have to I don't know if I'll be able to mentally do it. If the Bucks beat you again in the playoffs. You lose to the Bucks 3 times in the playoffs in how many years? At that point.
If you lost to any of those teams you just mentioned in the first round, it would be devastating.
It would be devastating.
Really, if you're talking about Packers, Vikings, Niners, Bucks, who else did you mention?
Hold on.
All those teams would be weaker than the
It
Eagles.
could be the Rams. It could be the Cardinals, the Niners.
Rams, Cardinals. If you lost to any of those teams at home in your first playoff game, it would be totally devastating.
Baker Mayfield ending the season again. I can't do it.
It would be devastating. But has Sirianni done enough now that he's back next year no matter what?
Oh, I think Ray laid it out. Ray said a bad performance by Jalen Hurts might be the only thing that saves him. However, that bad performance would be influenced by what? The offensive game plan that he would sanction.
True. I just think he's done enough that he's back next year. No matter what happens the rest of the way, again, absent an epic collapse down the stretch, which I don't even want to speak into existence, they're going to win the NFC East. They're going to be a 2 seed.
Really think that would be that easy of a decision to bring him back if they lost the? You're talking about Super Bowl or bust, and now you're saying, well, if they lost game 1 at home,
but look
that
who
he
you're
would be
talking
safe.
to.
I know.
Wait.
He doesn't want Thanksgiving dinner in Kansas City.
It's unbelievable, this guy, the way he
I'm saying I think that he's done enough.
On what merit? That if he lost the first playoff game,
he would have been.
You think there would be some kind of acceptance for that?
This is now going to be the 4th straight year that he's brought the team to the playoffs. Right now,
and as a Super Bowl favorite, loses game 1 at home.
You know, right now, after Jim Harbaugh lost last night, Nick Sirianni has the highest winning percentage of any active NFL head coach. You can't fire that guy no matter what happens in the playoffs.
Oh, man. I got news for you. You would be in the minority view if they lost to a lesser team as a favorite, and a healthy favorite it would be, in game 1 at home in the playoffs. You think that there would be acceptance for more Sirianni?
If this team wins the NFC East and is at the very least a 2 seed, I don't think whatever happened in the playoffs would impact Sirianni's job security. I think he would be back regardless. Absent a collapse down the stretch of the regular season, which I'd be shocked when you look at this schedule. They're going to go 3-3 at a minimum.
Okay.
I think Sirianni's earned his job back next year. And he should. I think it would be ridiculous to fire this guy after bouncing back the way this team's bounced back. Now, what you may get, Mike.
Are you processing the fact that they would have lost game 1 at home to a lesser team?
Oh, it would be devastating, but I don't think it would be fireable.
You would be unfazed by that as far as Sirianni goes?
Yeah, I don't think you could fire that guy.
Oh, my God. All right.
You're gonna fire a 2 seed?
Listen, man,
4th straight year in the playoffs, you would fire that guy? No.
610-632-0975. That's how you get in. Mike Missanelli Show. Off and running. Back after this.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Gearing up for the Ravens, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Ace Hardware Home Services. Got a leaky pipe? Having issues with your heat? At Ace Hardware Home Services, they're around the block with everything you need to fix it. They've got the pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services. The Eagles getting set to head down to Baltimore this Sunday for a matchup with the Ravens. Ravens started slow last night on Monday Night Football and then raced ahead the Chargers to win 30-23 in a battle of the Harbaugh brothers. Ravens now 8-4 in the season, 3-0 this year against the NFC. Eagles 3-0 against the AFC this season going into this one on Sunday. We will hear from head coach Nick Sirianni coming up at noon as he addresses the media and lead up to that game on Sunday. Looking elsewhere in Philadelphia, the Flyers lost 5-4 last night in the shootout. Vegas Golden Knights fell behind 3-0. The Flyers early battled their way back into it and then won in the shootout. Flyers back in action tomorrow night in Nashville against the Predators. 76ers also back in action tomorrow night. They will be at home hosting the Rockets on Thanksgiving Eve. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia Flyers hockey.
All right, let me get all caught up here on my hourly sponsors, which I always manage to mess up. But yeah, see, I did it again. I don't know, Ray. What do I do with these things? I have no idea. Oh, here we go. I got it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to let you know.
The 11 o'clock hour is brought to you by Grungo Law. That's your law firm when you need help because of an injury. Pray for peace, prepare for trial, grungolaw.com. I've never been able to keep papers straight.
You know what I noticed about you, too?
What's that? I doodle.
You're a doodler.
Yeah, I'm a doodler. This is
Yeah.
how I
So
pass.
am I.
This is how I pass time. I have to have a pen in my hand.
It's weird, though. I just keep seeing he doodles Ray and then with a big X over it.
Oh, we're going to get to the bottom of the people's inquiries about whether Bill and Ray, well, whether Ray dislikes Bill.
Yeah, I don't put out that vibe. Ray puts out that
and
vibe.
we're going to get to the bottom of
I don't
why.
think
I have
that's
some
vibe.
theories on why this is.
It's very upsetting.
But Ray is pretty much a private person. You are a prior. You pry.
I do. I pry
Yeah,
into Ray. I'm
you
also
pry.
an open book myself,
You
though.
pry into everybody. You pry. You're a prior. So you're always interested in his social life, which he doesn't want to discuss.
Well, you know what I do, too, is it's not as much as that I'm interested, is I know it makes Ray uncomfortable, so I like to.
Yeah, so you want
like
to make
to
him
ask.
intentionally uncomfortable. And hence, this is why he loathes you.
Yeah, Ray.
I don't know why the guy doesn't stand me. I
Yeah.
try and make him upset.
I know. I intentionally get him upset, but why doesn't he like me?
Yeah.
That's
odd.
So the 10 o'clock hour is brought to you by Window Nation, where you can take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all solid style windows. Make no down payment, no payments, no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. I am curious to know, since I want to do this Spectrum thing, because I was always captivated by Spectrum concerts. Forget about the great sports events that were there that many I covered and attended. And I remember one of my early days at the Spectrum, I got yelled at by a tennis player.
Wait, there was tennis at the Spectrum?
My early days as a journalist. Yeah, they used to have pro tennis events there.
I don't remember that.
Well, it was before your time. But that was a regular stop on the pro tennis tour.
Interesting. And you got yelled at?
There were some tennis people here called Marilyn and Ed Fernberger, who were tennis aficionados who were involved in the Association of Tennis Professionals, and they would have that was Philadelphia was one of their stops.
And you were covering this for who?
The paper I was working for at the time. I started out working for two smaller papers. One was called Today's Spirit, and the other was called Today's Post. It was my first job out of college. They were daily newspapers.
Gotcha.
And the organization was called Montgomery Newspapers. So the people that live in Montgomery County know about the series of weeklies and dailies that were produced back then. So I covered a lot of pro events. I was like the main pro coverer, which wasn't bad at college. So I'm covering this tennis event, and this is when this was the typewriter era, right? Forget about computers. Like the Radio Shack computer came in shortly after that. But you used to have to type out your stories on an electric typewriter, and I was a really good typer. And then the hard copy would spin on this machine, and it would translate it back to the office, and they would and that's how it would be in print form, like it was a scanner. So I'm clacking away as the tennis is going on because it was a bigger match that was my main story, and I'm clacking away in the Spectrum press box, and there was a tennis player named Brian Gottfried. You can look him up. Right, he was a pretty good tennis player. He was ranked, and he's playing somebody at the time that I'm typing out my story. And my electric typewriter, tennis, it's quiet, right? The electric typewriter going clack, 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 but it's in the press box. He stops play, and he goes over to the umpire, and he points to me in the press.
It says, "Stop the clacking."
Yes, and the umpire announces. The reporter in the press box, please be quiet. And I'm going there's a zillion eyeballs on me now at this point. I felt like an idiot.
Wow, this guy won. This guy won.
Yeah, he was a good player.
He won the French Open doubles. He won Wimbledon doubles.
Yeah, he was a better doubles player than a singles player. He was competing in singles at the time.
And he yelled at you.
He went to the umpire, and the umpire made an announcement.
So this was a long time ago. So you're using a typewriter. Where you're like, I'm just using the typewriter, see?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to do a story here, see?
Yeah, yes, I was like, I had a hat on that said press, right? I'm like 21 years old, right? I'm covering this pro tennis event, and my man, I'm like, I want to shrink under the chair, you know? It was really humiliating. But like, that's almost my first memory. Well, as a reporter, inspector, well, I attended many concerts there prior to that. But especially it's so part of my fiber, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you this as we start to let it go. We'll go back to this topic here because I've got a list of all these bands that played at the Spectrum, and you can't imagine how long this list is. There must have been 10,000 people that played, 10,000 artists that played there, right? So let's start out, and I'm going to ask you a question. How many times do you think? I'll do it as an over/under number. Let's go with AC/DC.
Oh, it's got to be high.
AC/DC, the over/under number is 8. How many times did AC/DC play there? You go over 8 or under 8?
I'm going to go over. I'm going to say it's probably closer to 15.
12 times.
Wow.
Bill is 1-0 on this.
Wow.
All right, let's go to the phones with Chris in Allentown. Chris, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Chris.
Yo, guys, we're not talking about the 1 seed here because, the Detroit Lions are going to lose 3 more games towards the end of the season here. And it is Super Bowl or bust. They're going to lose to the 49ers. They're going to lose to the Packers. And they are going to lose to the Bills. And why I say this is for the fact of the matter that if they don't have that running game, Jared Goff gets pressure in his face. And he is inaccurate, and he crumbles under that pressure time in and time again. It happens every season. I watch it every year with them.
It doesn't happen much this year, though.
No, it hasn't, but that's because of their running attack that they have. And I truly do believe that if we see them in the NFC Championship game, we will win because of the fact of the matter we got a guy named Jalen Carter in the middle that will pressure and will move it. This defense has played amazing at the end of the day. I called in early back in August before you came back, Mike, and I said, this is a 14-3 football team. That's what I thought. I thought it was going to be a slow start. I didn't expect us to lose 2 games at the beginning, but I didn't expect that slow start. But now that these coaches have gotten into a rhythm, Vic Fangio making the adjustments that he's making after the other team has their first drive has been the best defensive coaching I've seen here since Jim Johnson. I don't even know where to go with that. Like Vic Fangio has solidified that position on that side of the defense. I mean, it's just
all right, let's look at this now. Let's be reasonable here. The Lions now have 3 straight home games: Bears, Packers, Bills.
Yep, Packers gone. They're going to beat them.
So the Packers are going to come to Detroit and win that game, and then they lose again at home to Buffalo. So they're going to lose 2 home games in a row?
Yes. Mark my word, I'll call you back.
Yeah, I'm not. And by the time they go at San Francisco, what do you think the Niners will be at that point?
They're going to be a stronger, healthier football team than what we just saw this
Yeah, I think it's wishful thinking on your part, Chris. I know. Listen, I'm okay with it, but it's I don't want to bet on it. But the fact that you're telling me they're going to win, they're going to lose 3 of their last 6 games.
Absolutely, 100%. I have watched this team from week 1, and I'm telling you, I bet you a hoagie, man.
No, I don't want to bet on it. I don't have any stake in it. I hope that you're right. So I'm not going to bet on that, but I just think it's a little bit much.
If we don't make it to the Super Bowl, this is Super Bowl and bust, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
This team is built to win today. This season, this team is built to win this season. And, yes, we can have some future down the road, but the way Saquon's playing and the way Jalen Hurts is going to have his days, and he's going to light it up, and when we get in the playoffs, I'm locking it in. I'm locking it in. There's no team that's better than this team right now on paper.
All right, so Chris, so here's the ultimate question. If the Eagles fall short of what you're saying, would you be devastated?
Absolutely. It's going to be like the Tampa Bay loss, playoff loss.
Wow, look at it. My man Chris is all into it. But you see, I think that's a very provincial attitude to say that all of a sudden Detroit's going to fall apart and lose 3 of the next 6 and 2 home games in a row.
Well, and there's a bigger problem to his theory. So he said they're going to lose to the Packers and the Bills. Not only is the Buffalo Bills game for the Lions a home game, the Lions play the Packers on a Thursday night, so they have extended rest. And the Bills, that would be a back-to-back road game coming back from L.A. on a Sunday. There's a lot against the Buffalo Bills to win that game. I don't see the Lions losing their 3rd straight home game with extended rest when Buffalo's coming back from L.A. the week before.
All right, 610-632-0975. We'll get back to the text board because there's a text about Bill Sirianni take. And Bill's already on the record saying it doesn't matter if they lose game 1 by 30 to an inferior team at home. Sirianni deserves to be back. You said that, right? You added 30 points, or did I add that?
You added the 30, but I would go as far as that.
Sorry. All right.
35
you
is
would.
the breaking point.
You would.
If this team wins the NFC East and is at worst a 2 seed, he's already earned his job back.
Hell yeah. So much
Back
good.
after this.
Dog mentality
Fans, before we get to our text board and our calls, the Spectrum, as I'm honoring today, because I saw that Sixer court. The court actually and the uniforms are a lot more interesting than the actual team play. So I get all gooey about my days at the Spectrum. And so I'm wearing this little Spectrum thing today.
Yeah, you got that one. You got the other hoodie.
Yeah,
Where are you getting those?
I don't know where I got them.
I like them.
Kind of accumulate. But in any event, the bands that have, and everybody has seen these concerts, right? So we're going to get to, like, all these concerts that you'll go, oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's possible you were at one of these concerts. So if I tell you Bon Jovi.
How many times he's been at the Spectrum?
Living on a prayer, take my... Yeah, how many times has Bon Jovi been at the Spectrum? The over-under is 8.
Way over. I think he's in the 20s.
Ooh, only 10.
Really?
You're over. Yes. Bon Jovi, only 10. Now let me give you this one. Black Sabbath.
You giving me over-under?
Ozzy.
Somebody guess.
The over-under for Black Sabbath is 10.
Over. 15.
You are closer than you know. 20 times Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath paid the Spectrum 20 times. Bon Jovi only 10.
Yeah, that's wild.
How about that? And those were the days when he would eat the head off bats.
He's still alive, right?
Yes, he is still alive.
How the hell is Ozzy Osbourne still alive? How old is he now? Hold on, I'm looking this up. He's 75.
75 in human years. In Ozzy years, he's 150.
Dude, 30 years ago, if he tried to get life insurance, there was no company in the world that would have given him life insurance. That's insane.
All right, go back to the text board. Let's go to the text on Bill Sirianni take, Ray.
Bill sounds like an out-of-touch Sirianni apologist with the statement that the coach has earned his job next year no matter how this season finishes. The only coach that has earned a job back next year is Fangio and the obviously great position coaches. I like a lot of Bill's football takes and opinions, just not when Sirianni is involved. Go Birds.
All right, I appreciate the text. Let me just read you some things here, because this is not that I'm infatuated with Nick Sirianni. I'm talking about hard-nosed stats. The Eagles have started 9-2 or better in 3 consecutive seasons. 9-2 or better in 3 consecutive seasons. Over the last 30 years, there are only 4 other coaches to do that. Sean Payton, who had Drew Brees, Bill Belichick, who had Tom Brady, Tony Dungy, who had Peyton Manning, and Mike Shanahan, who had John Elway. Like, what are we doing here? People still think this guy's a clown? Come on, man. Let me give you something else.
Whoa.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a
Nobody
clown.
is using the word clown. We are zeroed in on one concept here. And the concept is, if he would lose in the first round to a lesser team at home.
This
is where you're totally ignoring that.
Let me give you more.
You're giving me stats. You're giving me this. You're giving me that. Oh, he did this. He's the only coach who did this. We're talking about the disappointment of them losing that first game at home against a lesser team.
Nick Sirianni's record of 43-19, winning percentage of .694,
keeps going down this road.
Is the 6th highest in NFL history.
I heard all these numbers.
History.
I heard all these numbers. You want me to side with the numbers rather than the result?
What I'm saying is, as disappointing as it would be if this team was to go to the playoffs and lose, it's not a fireable offense when you have a track record like this.
It's not a fireable offense.
Not with a track record like this.
The track record Doc Rivers had, and he got zipped because he couldn't get past the second round.
You think the 49ers are considering firing Kyle Shanahan?
The 49ers have been devastated with injury.
I hear excuses.
Their best player was out for the first 10 weeks.
They've never won a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan. Both years coming off of a Super Bowl, they've struggled.
This is not a comparison to Kyle Shanahan. I don't live in San Francisco. I couldn't give a flying flip what they do with Kyle Shanahan. I live here. I'm evaluating this head coach. I'm not comparing him to other cities.
And I know there's people saying, why are we even talking about firing the coach? But this is a topic that's come up. I could not imagine if this guy brings you to the playoffs for the 4th straight season and finishes the regular season as NFC East champion with the highest winning percentage of any active coach who's done things that only 4 or 5 coaches in history have ever done, that they would fire him.
Have there not been, Ray, help me out on this. Have there not been any coaches who have had success in bringing a team to the playoffs but got fired because they couldn't get to the next rung?
2 years ago, they went to the Super Bowl, though. You're not acting like a guy who's gotten knocked out in the first round every year.
Hold on a second. Hold on. You're talking about a team that you just proclaimed is Super Bowl worthy and can beat Detroit to get to the Super Bowl, and then you're saying to me, well, but if they lose the first game, he wouldn't be able to fight. You set up a standard for the guy that he would have fallen way short of if he loses the first game.
Look, it's not going to happen. They're not going to lose the first game. But they're not. They're going to win the first round of the playoffs.
Okay, well, then this discussion is moot.
It's going to be a moot point.
However, if you're talking about hypotheticals, you're already advancing past go without collecting $100.
Well, then
if you're
maybe
telling
this is
me
the
that
question.
he's going to lose in the first round and he's totally safe.
All right, but maybe this is the question then. Because in addition to us asking our audience, is it Super Bowl or bust? What does this guy have to do? Seriously, what does Sirianni have to
Bill,
do?
That's a terrible way to look at it.
What do we need from him?
What does he have to do? He probably has to get past the first round. What does he have to do? I mean, come on. We're not. He doesn't have his head in the guillotine. We're saying if the special circumstances are, he's taking a team that you think could actually win the Super Bowl, and they would lose in the first round, but there would be no ramifications for the head coach because he's got this brilliant record. That's what you're saying.
He also has buy-in from his players. Dude, you literally have.
If they lost the first game, then evidently he didn't have buy-in from his players.
Well, there's a lot of factors that could go into them losing. I just think that you may be right that the fan base would want to move on if that was to happen. I think Jeffrey Lurie is a good enough owner that he wouldn't do it.
How could you ignore the factor that he would be at probably a 7-point favorite at home, losing at home? That means nothing to you.
Oh, it would be devastating, but not fireable. Oh, man. That's my point. Devastating, not fireable.
Let me ask you, Ray. Would that be fireable?
I mean, it depends how it happens. If it's his fault, like if he blows that game, I have a hard time thinking he comes back because he's also going to enter the final year of his contract.
Prepare them and coach them well enough to win a game they should win. That's the standard he should be. If he's good enough, that he should be able to easily get by.
I imagine the pitchforks would be out. I imagine we'd be pretty upset.
But I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean,
I
haven't
be inclined to push the red button.
I was inclined to push the red button after last year. If they were this good and lost to the first round again, this time at home to an inferior team, I probably would be ready to push the red button.
And he wouldn't be the first coach to even would have a great record, considered a great coach, to get zipped because he couldn't get past X.
See, here's what is going to happen, and this is what I was concerned about even before the season started. Eagles are going to have success. They've been successful. I do think they get out of the first round. We'll see what the rest of the playoffs happens. But Kellen Moore probably going to get head coaching interviews. And I think what you're going to get from a lot of fans is that the Eagles should fire Nick Sirianni and they should keep Kellen Moore. And I think that's where people will go with their argument, regardless of what happens, regardless of how it looks. It's going to be, well, you can't let Kellen Moore.
That would only be the case if they lost 38-35 or something.
Yeah, if their offense gets shut down.
Yeah, then Kellen Moore wouldn't be getting touted. 610-632-0975 on the Mike Missanelli Show. We're back after this.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Gearing up for the Ravens. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is driven by, is Gary Barbera the best? Boy, I guess. Thank you, big man Brandon Graham. Gary Barbera land will always be your biggest fan. Is BG the best? Boy, I guess. The Eagles are getting set to head down to Baltimore for a matchup with the Ravens. Ravens started slow last night on Monday Night Football, then raced ahead of the Chargers to win 30-23 in a battle of the Harbaugh brothers. Ravens now 8-4, 3-0 this season against the NFC. Eagles 3-0 against the AFC going into this one. We'll hear from Nick Sirianni coming up up at noon as he addresses the media in the lead up to this weekend's game. Elsewhere in Philadelphia, the Flyers lost 5-4 in a shootout to the Golden Knights last night. Golden Knights come back from a 3-goal deficit in that one at the Wells Fargo Center. Flyers back in action tomorrow night in Nashville against the Predators. And then for the 76ers, they are back in action tomorrow night against the Rockets. We'll let you know if we hear anything about any availability for any number of the guys for the 76ers for their game tomorrow night, again against the Rockets down there at the Wells Fargo Center. This update is also brought to you by Mattress Firm. Shop Mattress Firm's Black Friday doorbuster starting this Friday. Get a queen mattress for just $89.99 plus score a free pillow. Offer ends Sunday. In-store pickup only. See store for details. I'm Ray Dunn, home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Five, the Fanatic. You know, I'm a little perturbed about something. I want to settle it once and for all a little later in the show. I alluded to it a little earlier with you guys. I feel battered and bruised. I gotta be honest with you. I got an email sent to my email yesterday. My email here, by the way, for the people that would like to email me. I answer all my emails. MikeMiss@bbgi.com. And here was the email, Bill. Intelligent Pennsylvanians hate Penn State because you all are a cult of robots who chose college football over societal morality.
Spot on email, Ray. That's why Ray didn't go. Ray chose Temple for societal morality.
Now it's getting out of control. I've talked about this Penn State hatred for a really long time.
Wait, is he inferring everything that occurred with Sandusky? Is that what he means?
I don't know what he's inferring.
Because you went there long before all that.
Well, first of all, that's inaccurate about making football a priority over societal morality. It was one rogue idiot who see, a lot of people don't know this story. They say, like, well, they protected. They didn't protect him. The head coach didn't protect him. He didn't even like him. But anyway, let me get into this because I went, oh, let me look at Ohio State scandals. Ooh. Oh, in 2018 at Ohio State, there was a sexual abuse allegations for former assistant Zach Smith and lawsuits from 162 men who alleged sexual abuse. You ever hear about that?
I did not.
Oh, you didn't hear about that scandal at Ohio State, did you? You heard about the Urban Meyer scandal? Where the wide receiver coach, Zach Smith. You didn't hear about that? Spousal abuse?
No.
Oh, did you hear about the fake in-house currency they were throwing around at a Columbus strip club, the football team? Did you hear about the gambling scandal involving one of their quarterbacks? Did you hear about the cheating scandal called Tattoo Gate? Where the quarterback was, who was the quarterback? He became a wide receiver.
Terrell Pryor?
Yeah, Terrell Pryor. Remember that scandal there?
I don't.
You don't remember these scandals? How have we moved on to Michigan, where there was computer access crimes, and there was the assistant coach who liked, in quotes, racist posts. I can go down a list if you prefer. See, nobody thinks about those things, right? But Penn State is the bastion of immortality because of that Sandusky scandal.
Well, yeah, and what the email's point is, he says Pennsylvanians. So his argument would probably be back, well, I don't care what happened in Ohio, and I don't care what happened in all these other places. I'm talking about Pennsylvania.
It's annoying.
But I think the Penn State hate that you talk about existed long before the Sandusky stuff.
So, all right, and I agree. So I'm opening the door for all you haters to come out of the woodwork and tell me why you hate. It's a fair question.
Yeah, I don't really hate Penn State, but I do find it fun to jab you about it.
No, you're just like everybody. You're under the umbrella of Penn State superiority. And,
yeah, but I don't have,
and hence,
like I said, like I didn't go to.
You went to a little school.
Yeah, I didn't go to a Division I program where Penn State would be anywhere on the level of us. So I didn't.
Well, but that's why you're even more.
No, because under that rationale,
affected by it because you got little man syndrome.
No, because under that rationale, I would be upset with every Division I program.
I just want to read this one more time before we get back to the phone. Intelligent Pennsylvanians hate Penn State because you all are a cult of robots. Look like a robot to you?
A little bit at times.
Who chose college football over societal morality. Yeah, I think we all did that. It wasn't just one guy. I think everybody did it. Like if you went to Penn State, we have a poor societal morality. So I have to deal with that the rest of my life. All right, let's go back to the phone. Sean in Illinois. Sean, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Sean.
Hey, just making my weekly phone call about my Sirianni love.
Mm-hmm. Love it, Sean.
There you go.
I've been saying it all along, and I'm going to stick behind him the whole time.
I am. We're talking about Sirianni and all this in the playoffs. What do you guys feel about our coordinators in the playoffs and their experience, and the fact that Sirianni is just the quote unquote CEO now? Are you not worried about Kellen Moore and Fangio? And I love them both. Don't get me wrong, but I'm kind of looking at the history, and Fangio has been to the Super Bowl once and lost, but did a great job. It looks like the defense didn't give up much points. But what about Kellen Moore? Does this not scare you guys a little bit about freezing up or anything like that when it comes to the big show?
No.
Everybody wasn't a big fan when he was.
No, it doesn't scare me for one reason. He doesn't have to be overly creative and sophisticated and tricky to score points. He's got a really solid base foundation of offense that is led by an offensive line and a running back that can't be stopped. So, the people that say, he's going to have to be creative to get Jalen Hurts to carry them through a game, I don't see that happening because their substance is so strong.
I agree, but what about when it comes down to crunch time? We haven't seen,
Well, they're doing the same thing in crunch time. Is Saquon Barkley going to fall apart in crunch time? Like he gets stronger. So in crunch time is the least of my worries.
I'm just worried about play calling. That's all I'm worried about. I'm just saying, are we jumping to conclusions about Sirianni? It sounds like it, but should we be worried about the coordinators who are really calling the plays? And Sirianni's just overseeing everything. I think we're putting a lot more pressure on Sirianni when I think we ought to really be thinking about these two brand new coordinators, both in their first year with us.
Let me ask you a question. Has Kellen Moore scared you somehow this year so far?
No, not at all, but he's walked into a gold mine. I mean, look at this.
Well, then why would it not still be a gold mine if they get to the playoffs?
I get it. I'm just saying he doesn't have a proven track record in the playoffs. Sirianni does, but Kellen Moore doesn't, and it's his first year. And I'm just saying maybe we should be looking at some other aspects instead of pouring all of our thoughts into Sirianni.
I know, Bill. Is there? Look at my throat. Was there a voice that was coming out of there? My voice is still coming out, right?
Yeah.
Like I was trying to explain why I'm not worried about Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
Because what they do is so consistent and rock-like.
Yeah, so to the caller's
I don't
point,
think he was hearing me.
No, he wasn't. But to the caller's point about Kellen Moore not having playoff success, you also got to look at who he was coaching for. I mean, it's the Dallas Cowboys. They choke every single season.
Look at what this offense is right now and tell me where you're afraid that he's going to screw it up.
Well, we're going to get into it's a long week. I mean, we'll get into this Eagles-Ravens matchup. But it will be interesting to see when you look at this Ravens defense. They've been very good against the run. They haven't been good against the pass. So what this caller is talking about and what some have suggested is if the run gets shut down, is the offense going to be creative enough? Is Jalen Hurts going to be good enough to carry the team? You may find out on Sunday, even though I think the Eagles are going to be able to run the ball on anybody. Doesn't matter. You're going up against one of the best rushing defenses in the league on Sunday. So we may get answers to that question. But you're right, Mike. It's when you have players like they have, I'm less worried about.
Yeah, like he doesn't have to go into his bag of tricks. And when you go into your bag of tricks, you're more likely to do some things that are foolish, and it backfires.
Like 2 weeks ago when they ran that.
He knows where they eat.
That trick play a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
that was a bad call. We didn't love some of the calls at the end of the first half this week against the Rams. Well, people are tweeting at me, look how bad of a coach Sirianni is. But, yeah, I mean, you could talk about the offensive coordinator there, too.
I was going to say, and I want you not to listen to this at all. I do think Kellen Moore would catch a little bit more if people weren't so upset coming into the season with Nick Sirianni. Like the fact that the offense, not that it starts slow, but at the beginning of the season, we definitely had that first quarter thing going on, and people have started to get upset in the first halves with field goal. I think Kellen Moore would catch it a little bit more if Nick Sirianni was not the end-all, be-all of people being upset.
I guess, but like the way this running back is playing right now, to me, there's nothing anybody can do that could stop them for an entire game. So I don't really worry about. They're so balanced right now with the strength being their offensive line and the running back that I can't see there's going to be any kind of fall off. Now, they may lose to the Ravens. That's not going to tell me that they're not still going to get to the NFC title game.
I know that fans probably don't like to hear this, but this game this weekend's not that big of a game for the Eagles. It really isn't. I mean, I'd love to see them win. But when you've won 7 in a row, it's an AFC opponent. It's not going to be a must-win game.
I agree, and I don't think they're going to win this one because I know there's losses left on the schedule, and very few, and this is one of them.
I knew the Ravens' offense was good. I had no idea they were this good. I went through every Tuesday. I go through and I do all the stats that I like to have in front of me. The Rams' offense is 1, 2, or 3 in literally every statistical category. They're number 1 in yards per game, number 2 in points per game, top 3 in passing yards, top 2 in rushing yards, number 1 in yards per carry, number 3 on third down, number 1 in the red zone, and they're top 3 in the least amount of sacks let up. I mean, it's an impressive offense.
Very impressive win for them last night. And, it's funny that the Harbaugh Bowl with John always coming out on top, Jim does not appreciate that whatsoever. You notice that, like
he's never beat him.
Yeah, but I watch them greet each other. They don't greet each other like brothers, like John wants to. But that Jim is so ultra competitive that he wants nothing to do with hugging his brother.
Jim's a little weird too.
He is.
So I don't know if it's even possible. Like if it's even possible for him to have a real moment. You know what I mean? Like,
but did you find that like two brothers and he's almost like?
Did you ever see Step Brothers? Ever see the movie Step Brothers?
Yeah, with John C. Reilly and.
Will Ferrell in the movie has an actual brother. I feel like that's their relationship. You know what I'm talking about, Ray? When like Will Ferrell goes to hug him and he can't, he's pushing him away. Ray knows the reference.
I get what you're saying. I mean, I'll be honest with you. If I was coached against my brother and he beat me, I don't think the first thing I'd want to do is go hug him. Be ready to fight him.
But even before the game, they're all.
I mean, for God's sake, the game's over. You're gonna like. What do you do? You don't pass the potatoes to him at Thanksgiving?
No, by the time we get to Thanksgiving, it's fine. It's been 3 days. Fresh off the loss there.
Hey, my God, they're both successful entities in coaching, and the one guy just beat him.
But he's never beat him. That's got to eat at you.
Come on.
Up until last night, Jim Harbaugh had never even had a lead in a game over John.
And that's got to eat at you. And you know it's coming up at the table.
Maybe it does, but my God, you can't show some affection to your brother.
That's what the pregame's for.
All right.
Get that out of the way. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Let's get back to the text boards. What are they saying about the Eagles here?
We got a lot of people still checking in on the Sirianni conversation. As someone said that was Bill's cousin on the phone talking about Sean in Illinois, the way he's defending Sirianni.
Well, Sean does call every week to express Sirianni love.
Mike in media said that he agrees with Bill. How long has Tomlin had a winning record and has just one Super Bowl?
It's a good point.
On the other end, someone said, Mike, you were shredding Bill right now.
Well, listen, Tomlin.
That was Mike. Can you check the number on that? Who texted that in?
Tomlin is a little more stoic a coach and a little more respected as a man, I would think, at this point than Sirianni is. And Tomlin never got involved in nonsense like Sirianni did, which is why a lot of people hated Sirianni.
But what's crazy is Tomlin, and I think he's a good coach, he won a Super Bowl in 2008. I mean, we're going on 16 seasons now since this guy has won a Super Bowl. Yes, he keeps winning, but they don't have playoff success. In fact, he hasn't won a playoff game. Wow, I didn't realize it was this bad. Mike Tomlin has not won a playoff game since 2016. Keeps winning record every year, which is impressive, but has not won a playoff game since 2016. I don't think people are calling for his job. Maybe they are.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Maybe people in Pittsburgh are.
People in Pittsburgh have been.
Sean McDermott's another one. Hasn't got the big win under his belt yet. Now, it hurts that you have Patrick Mahomes in your conference, but I don't know. I just wonder what it's going to take for people to just accept that Sirianni is a good coach. I really do wonder because against the Rams, the way the game started, I literally had multiple people tweeting at me, how long is it going to take with these slow starts before you realize the coach is a clown? Like, what are we talking about?
I'm not doing a good enough job.
No, and nobody really at this point, everybody's out of line that's going to call him a clown at this point. But you always change the narrative to make him look better.
How?
Because
I'm talking about statistics.
I'm focused on one element here. The element is if they lose a playoff game, the first game they play in the playoffs at home against a lesser team, and you're going, that doesn't matter because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, what I'm saying is if the Eagles were to, and it's not going to happen, but if they were to lose a game at home in the wild card round that they were favored, our anger should be at an all-time high, but he should not be fired. He's already done enough, in my opinion, that he deserves to come back next year.
All right, I think there would be people that would disagree with that.
Such as Ray from Center Valley. Which is not me, I promise.
Uh-huh.
The one scenario I could see him getting fired in the first round is if they lose like 24-23 because of his outrageous decisions. If he overcoaches the game and it costs them, that would be the end.
There you go.
Well, I'm sure. Like Ray said, Mike said that he's a little bit nervous about this game this weekend. As am I. We'll get there. We'll break it all down. But I've had this game as a loss for the Eagles when we did the W's and L's to start the season, and I'm not changing. But at the same time, I think there's going to be probably people overreacting next week that if the Eagles lose to the Ravens, where we'll get some of the Sirianni haters that'll come back out. He's won 7 in a row, but the moment he'll lose, I guarantee you some of the Sirianni haters will be back.
Well, some of them never left. He's been fired at halftime of a couple games.
That's true.
He was fired after what? The Jaguars game multiple times?
Yeah, it's still there.
All right.
He's joining us at 12.
That's right. Nick Sirianni will be joining us at noon, and then we'll move the news at noon around the great head coach.
Do you think anybody will ask him what he thinks of our Sirianni Love rendition?
Maybe.
Sure, he just wants to keep that a family matter.
You know, I'm. You've been sucking up to this guy so much. He owes you a phone call here. I know he goes on that other station and they pay him. But don't you think of all the sucking up you've done that when he puts his head on the pillow at night, you know, I should go and talk to my buddy Bill. Do you think he should do that?
I only disagree with one thing you said.
What?
Sucking up. Because there is no sucking up to Coach Sirianni. I'm not, and I have criticized him when he deserves to be criticized.
Don't you think he should make a call? You know, listen, people are feeding him all this stuff with you loving him. And don't you think he should patronize you a little bit?
He probably should. I mean, a lot of people should probably patronize me, but that's a whole other story. Ish wanted a statue yesterday, and he was probably correct.
Yeah. Do we think that...
That's why I got Ish on hold for a long time.
Well, we're here for Thanksgiving. Sirianni's going to come in, have dinner with us? An early Thanksgiving lunch, maybe, with us?
Oh, yeah, we are going to be here.
There's no media availability on Thursday, so
yeah,
you could ask him to come in.
They'll probably coach him.
I think it's disgraceful that he hasn't responded to Bill's boot licking.
Yeah, but somebody
call and not called this show yet.
Someone on YouTube too saying I suck. I don't know how I suck up to him. I've defended him.
Oh my God, for crying out loud!
Because I think he's a good coach.
Just wear it. All right, one question as we get into the break: how many times has Neil Diamond appeared at the Spectrum? I said, Sweet Caroline. Bum, bum, bum. How many times, Bill? The over-under is 5.
Ooh, that's not that many.
That's just the over-under.
Yeah, I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna say Neil Diamond's only been there like 3 times.
Oh, you thought it was a trick question, didn't you?
I did.
11 times.
Wow, I thought you were tricking
Diamond selling out the Spectrum.
Neil Diamond, 11 times.
610-632-0975. Coming up, Nick Sirianni, right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports. Sports Update.
Gearing up for the Ravens. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Ace Hardware Home Services. Got a leaky pipe, having issues with your heat at Ace Hardware Home Services? They're around the block with everything you need to fix it. They've got the pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services. The Eagles getting set to head down to Baltimore for a matchup with the Ravens this coming Sunday. Ravens started slow last night on Monday Night Football against the Chargers, then raced ahead to win 32-23 in the battle of the Harbaugh brothers. They are now 8-4 on the season, and going into this matchup against the Eagles, they're 3-0 against the NFC. The Eagles are 3-0 against the AFC, so somebody's O has to go come this Sunday. We'll hear from Nick Sirianni coming up after this break as he will address the media ahead of the matchup this Sunday, one of his two pressers this week. Elsewhere, Flyers lost in a shootout to the Golden Knights last night at the Wells Fargo Center. Flyers got up 3 goals early, fall 5-4 after the shootout. They'll be back in action in Nashville tomorrow night against the Predators. That game is at 8 o'clock. And tomorrow night, the 76ers get back in action. They have not played since their big loss to the Clippers on Sunday. They dropped them to 3-13. They'll be in action tomorrow night at the Wells Fargo Center against the Rockets. You can catch that game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Time, everybody. Mike Missanelli Show. 12 o'clock hour brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months, $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirstHVAC.com. Did I just hear him in the background, right?
I don't like tardiness.
Oh, he is tardy. Oh, I thought the presser had started because I heard a voice in the back. No, it hasn't started. Okay, well, in that case...
Why would anything start on time?
In that case, maybe it is wise that we start the news at noon. Or else we should, filibuster until he arrives?
Well, I think we should hear what the designs for the Bill statue are going for right now.
Oh, so you want to talk to Ish?
Well,
start things off.
We might be able to get through that call.
All right, let's talk to Ish, who called yesterday and said there should be a statue of Bill Colarulo here at the 97.5 Fanatic Studios because of his consistent glowing worship of the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's bring him in right now. Ish in Levittown. Hello, Ish. 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 Is there an Ish there? Make a wish for
Hello.
Ish.
Huh?
Oh, man, I was looking forward to Ish today.
Ish is not there. It's an empty telephone line.
All right, call us back, Ish. After Ish's opinion yesterday,
back, Ish.
he may get the VIP number with Ish's takes because he's
let's
spot
be clear.
on.
I hand out the VIP number.
There are a lot of people saying we should be focused on the Ravens. People, your friend on the chat board.
Yeah, MBD today.
MBD.
Who's usually very funny in the chat. He's annoying me today in the chat.
He's saying we should be talking about the Ravens. Well, we'll eventually.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll eventually get there with our analysis of this game. And the Ravens just came off a win last night, and we're processing the Eagles' win from Sunday night still. But it's a bigger picture that we're talking about. Yeah, these games on the schedule we'll be talking about every week, obviously. But at this point, the Eagles have set us up for a bigger thing. And so I think that we need to address that bigger thing. And the bigger thing is, with all these proclamations that they are absolutely a Super Bowl team, if they didn't get there, what would be your level of devastation? It's one thing to come into a season and wonder how good they're going to be. And, you inch along and you go, okay, well, they're pretty good. No, well, they're real good. Now they're winning a few games in a row, man. And then we get to a point where that triumph on Sunday night proves nationally that they are absolutely a Super Bowl contender and that there's one team that might be a little better than them in this conference, proclaimed by some NFL coaches in this story in The Athletic today. So I think it's fair to look at it and let's take it up to that point. Let's take it up to whether they're good enough to actually get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and what you said is there's only one team in the NFC that I think you could even argue is better. Now, I think it's pretty level playing field between the Lions and the Eagles, but you're right. When you look around the NFC, why shouldn't it be NFC Championship or bust, Super Bowl or bust? That's kind of where I'm drawing the line. I don't know if I'm saying Super Bowl or bust. Certainly NFC Championship game.
Yeah, listen, if we want to be honest with ourselves and realistic, the Eagles are right there with the Lions. And then there's everybody else at a lower tier. So, naturally, it's a natural discussion. It's a natural barroom conversation about whether this team really has the goods to actually get to the Super Bowl and win it. Now, there are some NFL insiders that see it differently. In this story by Mike Sando, he quotes a guy saying this: one game head-to-head, yes, the Eagles could win. But if they played 5 games, Philly would lose at least 3 of them, maybe 4 of them, said an NFC coach whose team faced the Eagles. So this guy is saying the Lions are better. In a one-game scenario, anything can happen, which is not exactly, breathtaking analysis. But he's clearly saying here that the Lions are the better team.
Yeah, I can't go and say it's clearly that the Lions are a better team. What have the Eagles showed this season that would lead you to say that they would lose 4 out of 5 games to the Lions? I can't get there. Now, I'm looking at what the odds are right now. So as of today, it's pretty close. The NFC Championship winner, plus 145 for the Lions, plus 300 for the Eagles, and then a distant third, the Green Bay Packers at plus 750. So, I mean, what we're talking about, it's Lions, Eagles, man.
So you bounce around different parts of this conversation. And so I bounce around in my head. Okay, if they went to Detroit and had to beat the Lions in Detroit and they lost that game in Detroit, I would not be overly devastated because I would think that the Lions would have the edge playing in their home field. If the Eagles lost to the Lions here, I don't know if I would be devastated either if I believe the Lions are a little better team. But if the Eagles do not get to that plateau in the playoffs, I would be totally devastated. And that leads to another sub-discussion on whether the coach then should be considered to come back or not. So this is just sports talk radio conversation. One little idea leads to another, which leads to another.
And it's fun conversation.
It is.
And I know
MBD is apparently not having fun.
Yeah, MBD's he's in a bad mood today. But it also then brings us down the path of the Negadelphia. You can't talk about this yet. You know, you're going to jinx it. This is what the purpose of sports is. This is the fun part of it, is you have a good team in front of you. They won 7 straight, to look around and say, hey, can they win a damn Super Bowl this year? And I'm looking right now. If the season ended today, Mike, the first playoff game the Eagles would have to play, because they would be the 2 seed, would be Washington at the Link. And then you figure if they win that game, they would have to play the higher seed. So it would either be the Seahawks, the Falcons, or the Vikings. See, they don't scare me either in Philadelphia. I mean, it really... NFC Championship has to be the floor, not the ceiling, right? NFC Championship has to be the floor. And I am curious what the fans think.
Why would they play Washington? When they play the Cardinals?
Washington would be the 7th seed as of today. If the season ended today, according to NFL.com, the Commanders would be a 7th seed. Now, that's only because they've played one more game than the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So you don't know how it'll play out. But as of right now,
the Cardinals would be the 7th seed then.
Well, no, the Commanders are 7-5. The Cardinals are 6-5.
Yeah, so the Cardinals would be the lower seed.
The Cardinals wouldn't make the playoffs.
Oh, they wouldn't make the playoffs.
No.
Oh, okay, all right.
As of today, the playoff teams would be Lions, Eagles, Seahawks, Falcons, Vikings, Packers, Commanders.
Okay.
And out of those teams, none of them should scare you. I know the Eagles lost to the Falcons. I don't see that happening again. Now, Minnesota's the quietest 9-2 team I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But they don't scare me.
All right.
Sam Darnold doesn't scare
me either. None of these teams that the Eagles would play scare me, which means it would be an upset if they lost to them, which disturbs me. Ish in Levittown is back with us. Go ahead, Ish.
Open up the cage and do it.
Oh, again, know what we're doing with this guy. Yo, Ish.
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, Ish, Ish, you're on, buddy.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. What are you doing over there?
I came up with it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. How's everybody doing today?
We're doing great. What are you doing over there, Ish?
Oh no, I'm working right now.
You working?
I'm sorry.
All right. All right. Go.
But I'm good.
Okay.
But,
go ahead.
I'm actually. I think I went a little too far with the. Sorry, Bill, with the statue. So
I don't think you did, Ish. I don't think you went too far.
So I am going to commission somebody to do a painting, and then like a painting of Bill, like Leonardo da Vinci, like, but your bald head, your shiny bald head, and you're going to be. They said do it.
Ish, what's going on, dude? What do you do, Ish? Where are you?
Hold on, we'll put one on. I got to find out what he does for a living. I can't imagine this guy has anything to do for a living. Here's Nick Sirianni.
Part question. Number one, what did you see from Nakobe his first 2 years when he wasn't playing, as far as behind the scenes, and your impressions of the way he's playing now?
Yeah, Nakobe's playing really good football. We're really excited about how he's continued to evolve as a player. I think you got to see Nakobe be able to contribute on special teams, particularly when he was healthy in 2022. Made a big hit that I remember against Tennessee and had some really good plays. And so you saw his ability, you saw his talent, and he waited patiently that year, and then was able to get meaningful special teams reps that we saw great talent from, and then off the injury worked his butt off to get himself back and And man, I can't say enough for how he prepares and how it's kind of translating to on the field. So I know he'll continue to work hard to continue to get better.
We'll go to Dave and then John.
Hey, Nick, as you think about the 4 years you've been here, what has Brandon Graham meant to you personally and professionally?
Yeah, can't say enough good things about BG. I think you guys have asked me this a couple times, and you know, just everybody in every workplace needs a Brandon Graham. And his energy is contagious. You can't get around him and not. If you're having a bad day and you get around him, he can turn your day positive. Obviously, the player speaks for itself in the play on the field. He's having a great year, but just can't say enough about him as a leader, as a captain, as a teammate, and you know, I've said this a bunch. Like when I first got the head coaching job, to have, you know, Fletch and Jason and Lane and BG, to have 4 guys that were 10-plus year Eagles at the offense and defensive line, really made the transition from a coordinator to a head coach. Made that a lot easier because of who they are as captains and people. And BG's right there at the top of the list. Yeah, means a lot to me. And yeah, just can't say enough good things about BG.
We'll go to John and then Brooks.
John, I think
I'm next, so I guess I'll jump in. Hey, Nick. The off the field stuff with Brandon, yeah, obviously just tremendous impact on the organization, but on the field, multiple injuries at the same position, that can always cause problems. Do you feel you have enough there at this stage?
Yeah, I feel like the guys that we have good options in house, and I know that Howie and his staff and will leave no stone unturned. And so yeah, but again, like I said, the guys, you only focus on the guys that you have right now, and the guys that we have, I'm really excited about their opportunity. As bummed as I am for Brandon and losing him, I'm excited for these other guys' opportunities. You know, Nolan's been, Josh and Nolan and Jalix. You know, Nolan keeps getting better. Sweaty's having a great year, and Jalix is seeing an uptick in his snaps, and Jalix and Nolan, they, you know, play with relentless effort, great physicality. So as bummed as I am for BG, excited for opportunities that we have with guys in-house, and, you know, we have some other options as well in-house.
We'll go to Brooks and then Martin.
Hey, Nick, I know you said Sunday that you know, you're holding out hope. You know, are there any, with Brandon, is there any more definitiveness about what the projection is for the rest of the year? I know he shared he was having surgery next week, and questions on the sideline like, can you play with this? What do you envision with him for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think it's pretty well known that he'll be out for the rest of the season. Yeah, again, my heart goes out to him, and you know, how much he's put into this thing his entire career, and just, you know, this season, and we'll sure as heck miss him. You know, and I know one thing about BG is that, you know, the play, like I said, speaks for itself. The leadership is very special. His leadership's very special, and BG is going to be around, and, you know, he's going to be still leading. I know that man can lead when he's on the field, when he's off the field, no matter what. And I'm excited that we still have his leadership and his, you know, everything that he feeds this football team. And so, you know, again, but bummed for Brandon.
We'll go to Martin and then Tim.
Hey, Nick. If I could change gears a little bit to the upcoming game against the Ravens, do you find that, like, you know, a lot of the challenges that you guys will face, you know, trying to stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are kind of similar to what opponents face, you know, trying to deal with your duo of Jalen and Saquon?
Yeah, both different players, different schemes, everything like that. But I think what the thing that you can really focus on is Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are phenomenal football players that help their team win football games, and Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley are phenomenal football players that help their teams win football games, or their team win football games. So, excited about the opportunity this week because it's our next one. It'll be a really good opponent, really well coached, good players, good atmosphere that will be there. Excited about the opportunity this week, and we're going to have to be on it, against a really good team.
We'll go to Tim and then Olivia.
Hey, Nick, I know that your teams have gone up against Derrick Henry a decent amount over the course of your career. Any one game in particular or moment stand out to you? And then just your thoughts on being sort of front row to Barkley versus Henry on Sunday.
Sure, yeah, obviously both great football players. And a lot of respect for Derrick Henry. Been able to, like you said, to see him a bunch when I was in the division. I think we played him one time since I've been here in 22. But yeah, big, strong, fast, hard to tackle, and so, that he is as advertised when you see him in person. And obviously we all see it. You guys all see it. The play speaks for itself. And so we'll have to be good with our fundamentals, as you always, you got to be in the right positions on defense. You got to tackle well. You got to get off blocks well. You got to have relentless effort to the football, which is everything we pride ourselves in defensive football, playing good football. Because if you're not, he's able to hit a home run and make you pay if not everybody's on the same page. If you're not tackling well, if you're not getting off blocks well, if you're not hustling to the football. And so that part of it reminds you of Saquon because it's similar, right? With Saquon, if the team doesn't tackle well, you're going against get off blocks well, hustle the football, or not all on the same page, the home run can be you can hit a home run, and it's similar for both guys.
We'll go to Olivia and then Bo.
Hey, Nick. When we talked to Britton Covey at the end of last week, he said that he feels like this team this year is better equipped to handle adversity just based on the experiences that they went through last year. And then by the way that the team has taken to your messaging of staying humble during this win streak. Do you agree with that premise? And either way, why or why not?
I think anytime you go through adversity, it makes you stronger if you allow it to. And one thing that, again, last year is in the past. We are 11 games into this season, and we've went through adversity this season as well. And when you go through that, do you let it shape you, right? Do you allow it to be humble and to learn the things that you can learn from it, understanding that when you go through adversity, that is a great opportunity for growth. And I think that's what we've seen, right? Growth through adversity. That's part of our nature, right? Of, lifting in the weight room. You can't get stronger unless you go through adversity lifting. That's the same thing here. And having that mindset of like, hey, we're going to get better from this. And I think that's just been our mindset and what we learned from last year, what we've learned from some of the difficult things that we've went through this year. And so, yeah, I think that you're better as you go through adversity. And there's no question if you allow it to. And I believe that this team, this coaching staff, these players have allowed this, our adversity that we've had through our time here together shape us and get us to where we are right now. And so we'll continue to let our experiences mold us and strengthen us. And good opportunity this week against a really good opponent.
We'll go to Bo and then Jimmy.
Hey, Nick, I just wanted to follow up on what happened at the end of the first half there and what you might do differently next time.
Yeah, not going to get too much into that. I'll keep it at the same as what we talked about after the game. We didn't coach it well enough. We didn't execute it well enough. So I'll just keep it at that right now. I respect your question, Bo. Sorry, I just don't want to get into too much there schematically.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go to Jimmy and then Chris.
Hey, Nick. Josh Sweat has 7 sacks during your 7-game winning streak. Seems to be having a bounce-back season. last year he had that 4-game stretch where he played 60 or more snaps. He had a crazy game against the Bills where he played like 81, I think. Was there a conscious effort to kind of bring that down this year? I think this year his high snap total is 45 in any one game. And then obviously he's probably going to have to play a little more with BG being out. So how do you kind of balance, keeping his snap counts down and also the need for him to play more with BG out?
Yeah. All our players' rep counts are on our mind and thought through. Everybody has an individualized plan. I think I've kind of answered this too through some Saquon questions, but everybody has an individualized plan. Sweaty's no different. He's having a good year. He's got his body in shape to play the plays that he's playing. But you go into every game, you think about everybody going into every game of how many touches you want them to have. Not that you always can control that, how many reps you want them to have, but there's some flexibility within a game. You may have a number in mind of how much you want them to play, but it could swing 5-10 plays either way, right? So there's some grace there. But like I said, it's our job to think through every single player and their health and how we practice them and how we play them each week. With that being said, you do what you need to do to win each football game, and you try, just like I say with Saquon, you try to manage it through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, knowing that every game's so important. And every game, you got to focus on how are you winning this football game. That's what you love about the NFL. It's unlike any other sport where, all chips are in every single week because you got, there's only 17 of them. And so to answer your question, it's always on our mind. It's on everybody's mind, or every player's mind. Everyone's got an individual plan. And then, it can go back and forth with where you get it to. And when you get into a game, things can change a little bit and will change a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
We'll go to Chris and then Ed.
Afternoon, Nick. Milton Williams had a strong game against the Rams. What have you seen from him this season, and do you think that his versatility lends itself to him playing on our edge more now that BG is out?
Again, like I said, we have options to do different things there. Milton's done a really good job. He's tough. He works hard. Good teammate. All the things you want out of one of your players. Plays with good fundamentals. His fundamentals continue to get better. I've said a lot of nice things about Bobby King as the linebacker coach. Clint Hurt's done an unbelievable job as our defensive tackle coach. And helping our defensive tackles get better fundamentally. And Milton's Milton has seen that success because of how he works and the coaching that he's getting from Clint. He made a couple nice plays in our game and had a really nice game in our game against the Rams. And then for that being said, you can't be great without the greatness of others. A lot of double teams were going towards Jalen Carter in that game, which left Milton have some opportunities one-on-one that he was able to win. And so it's just a style of good defense. Again, you need your teammate, you need your brother to play the best of your abilities, and I think we saw that on Sunday.
We'll go to Ed and then finish with Zach.
Yeah, hi, Nick. Just ask you about your schedule here. You don't have to get on a plane for the next rest of the season, 2 bus trips and 4 of your last 5 at home. What's the value of that at this point in the season, especially for a team that has played so many games coming out of an early bye?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we made up all that time on the Brazil trip and the Los Angeles trip last week. I'm just kidding, but yeah, it's good. It's really at this time of the year. It's a benefit. There's no doubt. To be in this, be in Philadelphia where you have these close teams next to you that you can have bus trips to, that's huge. And then to have we played a lot of road games early on, but when you play a lot of road games early on, now you get the opportunity to play some home games. So we love being at home in front of our fans where it's loud. One of the best place to play in the NFL. We know how rowdy it will be when we get back home in a week. But yeah, I think it's it's an advantage to teams that think it's an advantage, and we definitely think it will be an advantage for us. Give us opportunity to be home and not get on a plane here. So excited about that. But all we're really thinking about, I think that's big picture, and that's something that I need to look at every once in a while. Only thing we're focused on right here as a football team is the Baltimore Ravens.
We'll finish with Zach here.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. What's your philosophy or policy as far as injured players traveling with team, being around the team during the week? Because in the past 4 years, it's kind of varied based on the player and the injury.
Yeah, it's exactly it, Zach. Everybody's a little bit different. I want these guys to be. I know what it's like to go through an injury as a football player, and it can be a really lonely place. Where you're watching your teammates go out every week. I put myself back to 2001 where I'm out with a leg injury at Mount Union, and every time my roommates left to go play a game, I'd be sobbing in my room that I wasn't able to be a part of that. And so I like to be very sympathetic towards that, and I want the guys, I want the guys always to be around the team. Meetings, games, home or away. Everything is dictated, though, on the player's safety. Can they be on the sideline for a game based off their injury? Is it safe for them to have a plane ride, in which case we don't have, or the bus ride, a long bus ride, right? And so we talk about that every week at the beginning of the week. Hey, is this guy good to go? Boom, here. And then with guys in IR, we got a little formula for all those things to have a plan for all those guys. But I think the most important thing that I want those guys to feel from me and from the team is that just because they're not on the field, they have contributed to where we are to this point and will continue to contribute, and they're part of this football team. And because it is lonely, man. It can be a lonely place. I hate saying that, but it really can. And so you want to embrace these guys, put your arms around them, and let them know that they're in it with us until the very end, and a reason why we're in the position we're in it currently. And so, but everyone's treated a little bit different based off their injury, and whether it's safe or not for them or beneficial or not for their recovery to be on the field or to be in the plane.
As a natural follow-up, I'm sure you've seen Brandon's sentiment that he's going to be around. Is that your expectation that he'll be able to take these trips and be, whether it's practice or games?
Haven't got to that point yet. I sure as heck hope so. We need him. I need him. The team needs him because, again, Brandon Graham affects the team way more than just on the field, because you guys know him. I mean, because of the person he is, because of the captain he is, because of the teammate he is. His enthusiasm and love for football and love for his teammates is infectious. And like I said, everybody in every workplace, I hope and I wish that they have a Brandon Graham available to them, because it brings up everybody every single day, and that is a special quality that Brandon Graham has. And so, I will be, even if they say that he might not be able to go on the sideline, I will be lobbying with everything I have to make sure that he can, and I'll do my best to protect him on the sideline if the ball gets anywhere close to him.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time, Coach.
All right, there it is. Nick Sirianni, early week presser. I can tell you he really likes Zach Berman, because every week he calls him Zach. You notice that?
Well, does he?
Every time Zach Berman asks a question, it's Zach, good question, Zach, or something like that.
Well, does he really like him, or is he using what you would do?
I don't know.
Which is call him by his first name and tell him it was a good question.
Good question, but he doesn't seem to use anybody else's first name. Interesting stuff that he had to say. One Mount Union, it came out. We haven't heard it in a while. One Mount Union reference, where if he wasn't taken on the road because of an injury, he would be in his dorm room sobbing.
I missed the joke that didn't hit.
The joke was about travel or something, wasn't it, Ray?
Making up hours because they were in L.A.
Yeah, making up hours.
They've been on planes.
Fell flat.
Yeah.
Even fell flat with you.
I was.
You hang on every word, and it fell flat.
Well, I was actually reading an article. Are we coming back with the news at noon? Is that the plan?
Yes.
But I was reading an article that maybe we could toss around in the 1 o'clock hour. Pro Football Focus wrote an article that said, is Brandon Graham Hall of Fame worthy? And this isn't a local outlet. I mean, this is a national PFF.
Interesting question.
So we could talk about that coming
up. My initial reaction to that would be no. But
Same.
Yeah, I would have to go deep into it.
Yeah, but they make a valid argument. We could talk about that in the 1 o'clock hour.
610-632-0975 if you want to get in, or you want to text us. We have a lot of texts coming in. We'll get to those after this.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Hearing from Sirianni, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Mattress Firm. Shop Mattress Firm's Black Friday doorbusters starting this Friday. Get a queen mattress for just $89.99 plus score a free pillow. Offer ends Sunday. In-store pickup only. See store for details. Just heard from Nick Sirianni. Broke down a lot with the Eagles, but mostly Brandon Graham, talking a lot about what's going on with Brandon Graham, and obviously confirmed the fact that the expectation is Graham's season is over. There are obviously bigger conversations to come down the line of what this means for his career, as this was supposed to be kind of a farewell tour, even though he was playing a good percentage of the snaps and playing at a high level, especially in that Rams game. Keep you updated if there's anything more there, but that is Nick Sirianni's presser today, as he will speak again to the media coming up on Friday, with the Eagles getting set to head down to Baltimore for a matchup with the Ravens. Ravens last night on Monday Night Football beat the Chargers 30-23 in a battle of the Hardballs. Ravens down 8-4 on the season. This year, they are 3-0 against the NFC. Eagles 3-0 against the AFC going into this matchup. Again, that one Sunday down in Baltimore. Elsewhere in Philadelphia sports, the Flyers lost 5-4 in a shootout last night. They were up 3-0 early. Lose to the Golden Knights 5-4. They're back in action at Nashville tomorrow night against the Predators. And the 76ers return to action tomorrow night against the Rockets. They've been off since the big loss to the Clippers on Sunday. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
On a Tuesday, and tomorrow, Wednesday, will be General Knowledge Wednesday, and then we lead you into Thanksgiving and then Black Friday. After that, Bill will be here Thanksgiving?
Yes, Ray and I will host Thanksgiving Day. But then Friday, we're not here because there's a Flyers game, the Black Friday game. So
you're working on Thanksgiving with Ray.
I honestly, they asked me, do you want off? And I said, you know what?
You're doing 10
to work with Ray Dunn on Thanksgiving Day is...
You're doing 10 to 2 on Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah, 10 to 2. And then I'll get out of here.
Look at you working on it on a holiday.
It's not. I don't have my kids this Thanksgiving, so it's not as big of a deal.
Okay.
But then I'll get home nice and right in time. Ray, I'm thankful for you. You know that? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a whole Ray Dunn show.
I might even call in to say Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Oh, that would be nice.
Very nice.
We'll get you to call in.
Bill, they asked you? You want to work Thanksgiving?
I'm kidding.
I was going to say.
Yeah. It was just like, all right, see you 10 to 2 on Thanksgiving Day.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Well, we should actually, I think there'll be a lot of people in transit during the time we're on the air.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So we'll probably have a lot
nice,
of listeners.
Nice listening audience.
Yeah, so we're going to have a little
I didn't even
fun.
think of that. Maybe I should have just,
But what I'm thinking, Mike, what I'm thinking is, I mean, obviously you could do the whole, like, what you're thankful for. And,
yeah, that's the,
all that crap.
Usually people do.
All that stuff. But what I'm
mail
thinking.
it in on Thanksgiving at Sports Talk Radio.
But here's my idea. I told Ray we're going to do, like, your best dad jokes so that people who are in transit on their way to their family dinner will have something to make their family laugh. So we'll have people either text in, call in, give us your best dad joke. I say dad joke because it's got to be clean. Yeah. And then it'll give you something funny to talk about when you get in front of your family because no one wants to talk politics at the Thanksgiving table.
That's an excellent idea.
Yeah. You have any good ones, Ray?
Dude, why would we do that show during this show?
I didn't ask you to give it to me. I said, do you have any good ones, like lined up already?
Yeah, of course.
I could see Ray being a dad joke guy.
He looks like a dad joke guy. All right, in any event, since we had to postpone this for the great coach Nick Sirianni, it is now time for the news at noon.
There's a whole lot going on in this world. It's time to catch up. Here's the news at noon. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Yes, Ray Dunn giving us the news at noon. It's going to start off with a little college hoops, right, Ray?
That's right. Talk about coaches. There's no coach that's enjoyed more success over the last 2 years than Dan Hurley. There is no coach that goes crazier for just about any call that goes against his team than I think Dan Hurley. And yesterday, he may have cost his team the game. I'm saying may because he doesn't believe so, but I think everyone else in the world does. He was called for a technical foul after he disagreed with an over-the-back call, which he's going to explain why he disagreed with it and really just not let anyone off the hook except himself.
But I had a lot of issues with what went on out there in the game. That over-the-back call at that point of the game, there was no attempt to block out. There was a player on Memphis that made a half-ass effort to rebound that basketball, and Liam McNeely high-pointed that rebound. For that call to be made at that point in the game was a complete joke, all right? And then for me, I don't know what happened. I might have lost my balance by the absurdity of the call, or maybe I tripped. But if I made that call at that point, I would have ignored the fact that I was on my back. If I made that call, I would have ignored that. That was a major, obviously a major. How you could call that while that game was going on, the way that game was going on, is just beyond me. But I know, I've never seen the one ref before. I didn't even know he was a college ref. And then, I'm familiar with the other two, so I'm not surprised.
Oh my God, my man's gonna get the heat for that. So he flabbergastedly fell on his back and then got the technical. You can't fall on your back and show up an official. That's going to be an automatic technical.
He also acts like that's the only thing he did. He fell on his back and then proceeded to get up, was screaming in their faces.
Yeah, come on.
And was trying to be held back and then went around his assistant and kept yelling.
Yeah, well, that's a T.
Yeah, how about you don't let an unranked team beat you as a number 2 seed and stop complaining about the refs?
Probably what he was most angry about.
Yeah, he couldn't believe they were about to lose.
Yeah.
I think is more where that one goes.
Come on, Danny. That's poor losing.
You still have that crying sound, Ray?
Oh, yeah.
That's what's going on right there.
Yeah, there. All right, that's enough of that. All right. Going to another coach that lost last night. The Knicks embarrassed the Nuggets. 145-118. Mike Malone was given the opportunity to coach speak his way out of this loss. He chose not to.
A game that you feel like you can kind of flush and doesn't
No,
too much, or is
no, we're not flushing. You don't flush when you get embarrassed. You don't flush when you gave up 145 points. You don't flush when you didn't play hard, you didn't play with effort, you didn't play with physicality. I'm not flushing anything.
You know, I admire that.
Yeah, me too.
Because he said what needed to be said. You know, you got embarrassed, absorb it, and learn from it, and don't flush it away like it didn't happen. I wish Nick Nurse would do would do some of that. Because he's flushed a lot. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I respect that from Malone right there.
You think we'll ever get it?
From Nick Nurse? No. We're not going to get it from him.
There's no breaking point here?
He's protected, though, because I don't have my players. Why am I going to get crazy on these other guys?
Well, the breaking point may have been, and this isn't a report, it's just speculation, may have been leaking what was said at the meeting. That may have been Nick Nurse's way.
Oh, you think Nick Nurse leaked that?
That's how I'm leaning, man.
Ooh.
That's how I'm leaning.
Interesting.
Made the most sense to come from him.
All right.
I think it came from someone from Clutch, which would be his agency. But anyway, all right, let's move on. One final coach, because we don't really get a chance to rip our head coach in this town for being dumb right now. He's just won 7 games. He's very calm at the podium. I want to just rip Matt Eberflus for this. As he said, the reason they challenged Jordan Addison had a 69-yard catch against them. It was big, set the Vikings up, ended up getting a field goal there. The reason they challenged it is because explosive plays should be challenged.
So the view of that, first of all, I threw the challenge flag because it was an explosive. It's 69 yards, and our defense did a wonderful job of stopping them, there for a field goal. I was really pleased with that part of it. But again, when that's an explosive there, we want to make sure that we want to throw that flag. And again, I understand, sideline and all that stuff, cameras and all that, but they've done a good job of replay assisting, coming in and working with that. But again, I think it's always warrants a challenge when you got that big of a gain. If it was 6 yards, no one would care. If it was 15 yards, I don't think you would care. But it's 70 yards. It's worth it, even if we don't have the best look that we want to have.
Oh, all right. Now, what was your problem with that?
My problem is they had no look at it. He's saying that you just challenge it because it's a big play.
Uh-huh.
And if the Eagles had lost the timeout in a close game because their coaching staff was like, you got 69 yards there, let's just throw the flag out there. We were losing our minds over a challenge that actually worked in the Eagles' favor that they've got a little help on.
Wait, hold on. I missed this in live action. So was it a questionable?
They thought he was out of bounds on the sideline. He was not. They had no look at him being out of bounds on the sideline. They threw the flag simply because they thought, it's a big play. Let's take the chance that he might have been out.
But there was no evidence conclusive that he was in.
Sometimes
just him being in.
Sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I kind of agree with Eberflus.
I don't at all.
And I don't think he's that good of a coach.
We were saying, like, why wouldn't Nick Sirianni just read the play instead of looking to get confirmation from his upstairs people? Yeah, sometimes you just got to read the play.
And I understand what he's saying, though, right? If it's a huge play, 69 yards, and it's questionable, it's maybe worth the risk of losing the timeout in that situation.
In real time, I didn't have the thought that he went out watching it.
Okay. Well,
now, listen to that explanation. I'm like, I don't know how you had no one help you out there and just threw the red flag.
Ray, anti-Matt Eberflus.
Well, it's pretty easy to be. I mean, the guy's going to lose his job.
He is going to lose his job.
Well, we need them to show up on Thanksgiving.
That's the news at noon for today. I thought you were going to add the Paul Bissonnette story. Did you see this? Paul Bissonnette, he was a goon in hockey, right,
guy.
Bill?
Yeah, he's got the that podcast with Whitney.
Spit and Chicklets.
Yeah, Spit and Chicklets.
And he's also on the TNT studio. He was hospitalized on Sunday after getting into a fight with multiple men.
I missed this.
At a restaurant.
I totally missed this.
He went to a restaurant on Sunday. While he was there, an incident in the bar began to unfold between the staff of the restaurant and one of the customers. Now you got to understand, this guy has a hockey mentality, and he was a fighter in hockey. He decides to go into the bar. This is how he explains it. But I'm thinking that he thought he could go in there and put down some hockey justice, right? So he says, there's a bit of ruckus going on at the bar. It was a bunch of drunk golfers. Things obviously continued to escalate. They asked one guy to leave, and then one guy kept getting in the manager's face, putting his hands on him, and that went on for about probably 30 to 45 seconds. You could tell he was a little shocked and surprised and stunned. It's a family restaurant. I don't think there was anybody in there who could go maybe help him out. So I went over and grabbed the guy's arm that was on him, and I said, "Sir," I can't believe that he would do it. "Sir, if you continue to harass and assault the staff, we're going to have problems." Is he that polite? You think Paul Bissonnette's going to go over there and be that polite? So he goes, it then started, then they just started chucking. And it escalated extremely quickly. I think it was 7 guys that I fought with throughout the course of the restaurant, all the way to the parking lot, over to the CVS. I got taken down a couple times. I got boot-effed in the head 3 times. Luckily, didn't get knocked out. I did go to the hospital, so that's what probably everybody's reading about. Just bad dudes, way too drunk, and I don't know what else they had in their systems. But, yeah, I'm very, very angry about these guys, and I kind of want their names out there and want them to pay the piper. It's just an unacceptable behavior at a family restaurant.
Man, I can't believe I missed this.
Come on, man. You got to get yourself involved in a scrap with drunken golfers because you're a hockey tough guy.
Well, it says he goes there all the time. This is a place he goes to a lot. And then the Scottsdale Police Department confirmed that version to The Athletic. Apparently, they issued a statement to The Athletic. Man. Yeah, it says an altercation that escalated to the men assaulting Paul Bissonnette both inside and outside of the restaurant. I don't know. What would you do, though, Mike? Let's say you're at a restaurant.
Maybe you call the authorities. I don't know.
Yeah, call the police.
Insert yourself into the scrap, but he's a hockey fighter.
Yeah, that's wild.
All right, let's take a break. 610-632-0975. Mike Missanelli Show continues.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Hearing from Sirianni, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Disney's Moana 2. Traffic is never fun. What is fun? Moana. Disney's Moana 2. I don't know why I said it like that. Traffic is never fun. What is fun? Moana and Mount teaming up for an all-new epic adventure that you can only see on the biggest screen possible. Disney's Moana 2 in theaters everywhere Wednesday. Get your tickets now. We heard from Nick Sirianni earlier this hour, addressing a number of things with the Eagles as they get set for the matchup with the Ravens down in Baltimore this weekend. The biggest thing, a lot of questions about Brandon Graham, whether he's going to be spending more time around the team, what his role is now that he is out for the season, and Nick Sirianni confirming the fact that he will be out for the season with torn triceps after suffering that injury against the Rams Sunday night. This is the first of 2 Sirianni pressers this week. He speaks again on Fridays. The Eagles get ready to play a Ravens team coming off a win on Monday Night Football last night, 30-23 over the Chargers. Ravens now 8-4, and this season they are 3-0 against the NFC. Eagles 3-0 against the AFC. As the two sides, one of them will have that loss against the other conference coming out of that game on Sunday. Looking elsewhere in Philadelphia sports, the Flyers lost 5-4 in a shootout to the Vegas Golden Knights last night at home. They'll be back in action tomorrow in Nashville against the Predators, and the 76ers will be back in action tomorrow against the Rockets at home, and this is their first game since the loss to the Clippers on Sunday. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Mike Missanelli Show has been holding court.
And right now, the sun is shining mostly on your Philadelphia Eagles, but there is a discussion that we need to have today. There are two parts to this discussion as we do the show. The discussion point now with the Philadelphia Eagles, since we were such in glowing tribute of them yesterday, after their win Sunday night over the Rams, where we proclaimed them to be a Super Bowl contender, where we proclaimed them to go head-to-head with the Detroit Lions for NFC supremacy at the end of this whole journey, and whether they are the better team than the Detroit Lions, and whether that is influenced by where they'll play that NFC title game.
Mike and Bill have been pleading their cases.
I'm just not seeing how anyone could pick against the Eagles right now. When you have a defense that is number one in the NFL, and then you have an offense that's top 7 that can run on anybody. 4 times the Detroit Lions would beat them in a 5-game stretch.
Then what is it, Eagle hate? This is an NFL coach that said that. Is this Eagle hate? What is it, personal?
I think it's less about Eagle hate, and it's more about the Lions are the sexy pick. That the Lions, coming into the season, everybody was saying the Detroit Lions, and they've done a really nice job. I can't say that the Lions have. They're 10-1, so I understand the love about the Lions, but to say that they would beat the Eagles 4 out of 5 times is a stretch for me.
The Mike Missanelli Show Holding Court is brought to you by Grunko Law, your law firm when you need help because of an injury. We treat every case like it's Dallas Week. Pray for peace, prepare for trial. Now back to Mike Missanelli on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Yes, it is the Mike Missanelli Show, 1 o'clock hour, brought to you by Ferguson HVAC Line Conklin. If you're an HVAC contractor, equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job, all you have to do is visit one of the Ferguson's counter locations. They're in Ben Salem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. Yes, we've spent a lot of time today talking about the Eagles and what the expectations are now that people are convinced that they are a Super Bowl contender, if not a lock to play in the Super Bowl. So we've gone back and forth with that. Let me just add this, Bill. The project. You went over the records right now where the playoffs would stand. I'm going over the playoff model projections based on percentage. So this takes in consideration these teams for the rest of the year and all this. And right now, the top 7, the Lions would still be number 1. Then the Eagles would be 2, the Vikings 3, the Packers 4, the Falcons 5, the Commanders 6, and the Cardinals 7. So they would have percentage to make the playoffs. So if that stands, based on these model projections and extrapolations, that means the Lions would get the bye. The Eagles would play the Cardinals first. Well, that would be a win at home. And then they would play the winner of the Vikings Commanders before they would get to the Lions. Now, just for argument's sake, they beat the Cardinals. They lose at home to the winner of the Vikings Commanders. How would that sit with you?
I would be devastated. There's no one in the NFC. There is no one in the NFC that the Eagles would not be favored over in a playoff game, especially at home, outside of the Detroit Lions. So they should beat every team in the NFC. This is an NFC championship or bust season right now. With the way that the NFC has lined up, it's a weaker NFC. The NFC East is weak. The Eagles look very good. You have Saquon Barkley playing out of his mind. Yeah, I would be devastated if they don't make it to the championship game.
All right. So we still have that topic that's still we're tossing around. But let's just move on to some quick Sixers stuff.
Yeah, we just got some news.
The news just came out that Embiid and George will not play, and Kyle Lowry is still out when they play the Rockets tomorrow night at the Wells Fargo Center. Good luck with the tickets. Thanks for playing along, and thanks for coming and having a big slice of pizza in the concourse. But you won't get to see Embiid, George, and Lowry tomorrow for the Sixers. Now, let's take this a little further. We had a guy from The Athletic named Sam Amick on the show. He reports on the NBA. He was on the Run It Back podcast, which is Lou Williams' podcast. And you'll have to listen to this yourself. But it sounds like to me that the Sixers, according to this Sam Amick, were okay with giving Joel Embiid this massive extension, even though they knew his knee condition was still bad. Let's hear the audio here, Ray, and let the people listen.
You know, in that same conversation, I had asked essentially, like, was there any regret about doing the extension, right? And also, did you know at that time? And the answers I got were yes, we knew, and that there was a confidence level and their ability to manage it going forward. But they'll acknowledge that it's, you know, I mean, to keep it with the Vegas odds mentality, like the odds are okay. They're not great, and they felt good enough about it to do that deal. But they certainly can't guarantee that he's going to be okay.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. Can't guarantee that he's going to be okay.
Okay, so
why give him the extension?
I don't know how to process this because if you, by not giving him the extension, were they afraid of the like he would shut down on them, or like I don't know. But if you're running a prudent organization, I would think the move would not just be to, okay, well, you know, maybe we don't get much out of him, but let's just give him $200 million anyway.
And
like,
3 more years.
And 3 more years. So, he signed a $200 million extension of 3 years. And they according to this reporter, says, yeah, they knew that the odds weren't good, but they were okay, and that they could manage him through this thing. I'm confused.
I'm more confused by it. And you just said, are they afraid that if they didn't give him the extension that he would just, what was the word you used, shut down?
Yeah.
You mean kind of like he did already this season?
Well, yeah.
Not coming into camp in shape and missing all these games. I mean, what would have been the difference if they didn't give him the extension?
That's what I'm saying. Now he's got the bag, and it's like, well, whatever happens, like it's not going to affect my life one bit. I'm still going to get the money. Even if they decide to move me somewhere, and I don't know, man. I'm just.
We're talking.
You realize what they put themselves in a spot? Like, given that $300 million, they put themselves in a spot.
I mean, I guess technically, if you decided to move on from him, you still could this offseason. I mean, it's not as if another. Well, I mean, would a team want him in light of this injury? I still think he could be a dominant player.
Somebody would want him, I guess.
He's still a dominant player.
I don't know how to respond to the 6. It hurts my heart. Like, again, we're not going to have these guys play together. And again, people are going to have to come to the arena that have bought tickets, and they're not going to get their bang for the buck. And it's just there's something that just doesn't feel right about this whole thing, the way it's transpiring.
It's terrible, Mike. And we're talking, we started the show with the topic of, should the Eagles go to the NFC Championship game? Is it Super Bowl or bust? So just for fun, I just went on ESPN's NBA Basketball Power Index, and they put percentages on different things. What do you think the 76ers percentage chance is right now, according to ESPN's Power Index, to go to the conference finals in the NBA?
Right now? What's it's got to be single digits.
Oh, it's single digits.
4. What? Is it
0.4? 2.9%. There is a 2.9% chance that they would go to the conference finals, but it gets worse. What do you think it is to make the semifinals?
Well, I don't even want to go that far. What is it to make the playoffs?
To make the playoffs, they're still giving them a 50% chance.
Really?
Yes. It's a 50% chance to make the playoffs.
Well, see, that's all people really need to hear. If people hear there's a 50% chance for them to make the playoffs, they still have it like deep in the recesses of their brain think that there then would be a possibility to do magical things.
But wait, the semifinals is what? What round? Is that the second round?
Conference semis?
Yeah,
the second round.
All right, so they have only an 11% chance to make it to the semifinals of the conference.
This is bad. This is very, very bad.
So what they're predicting then is, it's a coin toss whether they make the playoffs, but then there's a 90% chance they lose in the first round.
But there's still...
You ever feel like nothing good was ever going to happen to you?
there's still this notion somehow that if they can get into the playoffs, they will have preserved all these guys, and by then they'll really be ready to kick your ass.
Well, that's what I was on board with.
You were on board
to
with
start the season.
Yes.
But I was looking at it with the lens of keeping Embiid healthy, not realizing that he's not healthy. I didn't expect him to not be healthy.
All this part of this management thing that this Sam Amick is talking about. They said, well, the chances aren't great, but okay, they're okay, and we can manage it. This is all part of managing. They're still managing this thing by not playing him.
I'm ready to throw in the towel, man. Look, we're supposed to be excited about the Sixers. I mean, you're going to be able to hear that game tomorrow night here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I've lost all excitement. I got nothing left for this team.
The only thing I can tell you is that I try almost on a daily basis to get Daryl Morey on this show to be interviewed, and it just hasn't come to fruition yet. But it's not like I haven't been trying. So I have many questions to ask the man. And I actually think he could do himself a solid with the fan base, to be honest, to answer the questions. And I'm disappointed that he's not willing to do that yet. So let's just take a break. We'll come back. We'll go over the text board. We'll take your calls. Here's how you get in, 610-632-0975. It's the Mike Missanelli Show back after this. a pretty funny tweet that Bill just read me from one Leonard Dykstra.
Lenny Dykstra.
Lenny Dykstra spends time on social media. Now, he's out of his mind, as we all know. He was a guest of mine. He co-hosted with me twice in my career here at the Fanatic. But and he has nothing but time on his hands to respond to tweets. So go through this one.
Yeah, I'm just surprised he got involved on this. So yesterday, J.J. Watt tweeted out, Saquon plus Eagles O-line equals cheat code. And then Chase Daniel, that we all remember, the famous backup quarterback, he writes, any running back plus the Eagles O-line equals cheat code. And that caused quite a stir. But Lenny Dykstra weighed in and said Chase Daniel plus any Eagles O-line equals bitch.
That's pretty funny.
Score one for Lenny.
What kind of an idiot Chase Daniel? Like, what, you don't think that this guy's special? He's doing Walter Payton stuff. He's sweetness right now.
Well, listen, this is the culture we live in. You say something like that, and it got a ton of clicks and a ton of controversy.
Yeah, I guess. But it's stupid.
It is. It doesn't make any sense.
It makes him look bad as a football man, not to, recognize that.
Well, speaking of
This
Saquon,
man was a bona fide scrub.
Did you see Saquon on his record-breaking 72-yard touchdown? He accidentally gave the ball away to a fan.
Yeah.
Well, it was reported today he got the ball back.
Oh, he did.
And I think the fan may have made a mistake here. He gave it back to him just for another ball signed. That ball may be worth something. That was the Eagles franchise record
You're always
ball.
looking at the capitalistic venture. Hey, he's an Eagle fan. He got a Saquon ball signed. That's all he wanted anyway.
You got to negotiate that one.
Yeah, I think he could have held out.
You guys are grubby, man.
If I represented that fan, I would have held out for just a little bit more.
Your own player?
He should have got tickets, a jersey.
I could pass on the jersey.
Oh,
Just
that's
give me
right. It was so it was a Rams fan that he gave it, or he gave it?
No,
to
he gave it to an Eagles fan.
Well, it's his own player.
Yeah.
Come on,
Let me
man.
into
You
the
want to go
building.
do anything against your squad?
Listen, a lot of credit to the fan. That was a nice move, giving it back. I just think he could have got a little bit more. That's all.
Oh my God, what would you have asked Saquon Barkley? You going to hold him up? Saquon Barkley, you going to hold him up? Like a gun to his head? Give me more than a signed ball? What kind of man would you be if you did that?
I just want tickets.
Yeah, he should have given him
I'm sure.
a jersey, a signed ball, tickets and sideline passes to a game,
See, now you're asking for I just want to be in the building.
and then maybe a one-on-one dinner with Nick Sirianni.
By the way, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, you would
Because I want to thank the Eagles
For?
their community relations department.
Did they hook you up?
I had requested, the podcast I'm doing.
I remember
The
this.
true crime podcast, the coldest murder. The family of a young lady, Caroline Dockery, was murdered way back in 1962. Her sister was her younger sister, who's now obviously older. It was on our podcast, and her daughter supervised the whole thing. And they casually mentioned to me that they are Eagles fans. So I called the Eagles and tried to, set them up for tickets. They're living near Berwick, PA. They want to come to an Eagles game. So I want to thank the Eagles. They provided tickets for the family.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
When are they going? What game?
It is it's a 1:00 game. It's not it's the one after Pittsburgh. Which one is that? Is that Carolina?
Carolina's before Pittsburgh.
Oh, I think it's the Carolina game then.
Yeah, Carolina's the next 1:00 game. Yeah,
Yeah.
because then they're at Washington, so it must be the Carolina
it's
game.
the Carolina game.
Nice, so that's next week.
Thank you so much for them, and they're going to email them the tickets through the ticket app. So I hooked that up, but the Eagles really came up big for me. I really appreciate them doing that for the family.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I remember you had asked that on the air that you wanted to do that, so that's great.
Yes. All right, let's go to the text board and see what we got there.
All right, Anthony in Langhorne. Do the Eagles need a season like this one from Barkley to get to the Super Bowl? If the answer is yes, then it's the trophy or bust. This is historic, one time only. I think the Lions are as good, not better than Philly. Love the show.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Anything else we have?
Angelo from Ardmore. Hey, guys, it's going to be devastating no matter what round they lose in, and that includes the Super Bowl because they're having a magical season. And historically, it's tough seeing a running back and offense repeating this kind of season.
Yeah, it's going to be devastating. See, as we brought this topic up, and I've been thinking more and more about it, it's just not saying the Eagles can't win a Super Bowl in the next few years. I just think this is probably the best chance of it. And there's so many factors. Like I was thinking about this. I tweeted this out. In addition to it being a weak NFC, in addition to it being a weak NFC East, how much longer do we have Lane Johnson as the right tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles? And then there's no guarantee that Saquon Barkley next year and the year after is playing at this high of a level after all of these touches. There's no guarantee you have Kellen Moore even after this season. We don't know how many more years Vic Fangio is going to be the coach. There's just so many factors which probably says this is the best chance you have. Not saying they can't do it next year or the year after, but this is probably the best chance and the easiest path. Oh, man, I'd love it if we were talking about it on this show. Super Bowl. We going to New Orleans if they go? We doing the show in New Orleans?
Oh, yeah.
Better start making some plans.
Well, I better start asking the wife. I mean, we'll have like a newborn baby at
That's
that
a good
point.
point. I'll take your spot on the trip.
Oh, no, I'll tell her. She'll be cool with it. For the Super Bowl, she'll be cool with it.
That's all right.
All right, so let's take a break. We have Dennis Springfield on the line. We'll get to Dennis. As we get into the break, the Spectrum thing that I've been doing with the bands that played there. Bill, plus or minus 5, how many times had the Grateful Dead played the Spectrum?
Plus or minus 5?
Plus or minus 5. In other words, I'll give you 5 or I'll minus 5. We're preparing you to guess.
All right, I'm going to guess 22 times.
Wow. 26.
Whoa! Nailed it. Wait, what do I get? Do I get tickets to
times the Grateful Dead have played there. How about that? Now, this is just for giggles. How many combined times has Jay Leno and Eddie Murphy played the Spectrum?
Twice.
3 times.
Oh, I was close.
Jay Leno once. Eddie Murphy twice.
Now, have you ever been to a Grateful Dead concert? You a Deadhead?
No.
Ray, Deadhead?
I have not been to a Grateful Dead concert.
I know people who are, though.
Yeah, same.
I just never, me, that parrot head and the Deadhead thing never really affected me.
What about Fish?
No.
No,
I'm not a cult band.
Me either. But like the Grateful
guy.
Dead and Fish, they get, right, is a similar vibe at the concerts, right?
Yes. Yeah, the vibe is. That's the vibe.
Pass it, Mike. Pass it.
Back after this on the Mike Missanelli Show.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Embiid and George out against the Rockets. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is driven by, is Gary Barbera the best? Boy, I guess. Thank you, big man Brandon Graham. Gary Barbera will always be your biggest fan. Is BG the best? Boy, I guess. Yes, Paul George and Joel Embiid will be out against the Rockets tomorrow night. That one just reported this hour that the 76ers will be without Embiid, George, and Lowry going against that Houston Rockets team tomorrow night at the Wells Fargo Center. That is a game in which the 76ers will be trying to avoid starting 3-14 on the season. They'll be without their top 2 stars in that one. You'll be able to listen to that game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. As for the Birds, we heard from Nick Sirianni in the 12 o'clock hour. Confirmed the news that Brandon Graham is done for the season as this team now gets ready for a matchup with the Ravens on Sunday. Baltimore last night with the victory on the road against the Chargers 30-23 on Monday Night Football. Ravens now 8-4 on the season. Eagles 9-2, a great matchup coming up on Sunday between those two. And finally, the Flyers lost last night 5-4 in the shootout. They'll be back in action on Wednesday night in Nashville against the Predators. This update is also brought to you by Discover. Discover wants everyone to feel special. That's why they double all the cash back you've earned on your credit card at the end of your first year with Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/credit card. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
on the Mike Missanelli Show. I just wanted to say that I want to mention the lady who helped me with these tickets to provide for the family. Her name's Taylor Wilson. So I wanted to give her a shout out of the Eagles Community Relations Department.
The Eagles have always done a great job.
She's been on this from the jump. So thank you, Taylor. We appreciate it, and I know the family does.
Did you tell the family already?
Oh yeah, the family's really excited.
That's great, man.
Yeah, they're making their plans already.
Very cool.
So, all right, let's go back to the text board. There's a text that will make Bill upset, and some more text on the expectations for the Eagles now that they've been proclaimed nationally as Super Bowl contenders, right?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with the text that'll make Bill upset.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, sounds good. First-time texter here checking in. I think Sirianni may be more a product of his assistant coaches. This year's coordinators are boosting him up. Last year helped drag him down, and 2 years ago boosted him up.
So wait, what's the point?
That Sirianni is a product of his assistant coaches.
Whoa, Bill. Oh, Bill.
Wait,
a head coach is never the product of his assistant coaches.
I'm just confused, though. So 2 years ago, they were successful because of the coordinators, but then the texts are saying they weren't successful last year because the coordinators weren't good.
I think Sirianni does nothing. That's the general.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It doesn't seem like they're giving a lot of credit to Sirianni.
No, they're not.
Well, he thought that was going to make you upset. That's why he said it. Well, we get back to why Ray doesn't like Bill.
Hold on.
As most of the people say.
Well, I'm going to respond with a tweet that I didn't just put out, but that the NFL on CBS just put out. Are you ready for this? 9 minutes ago. This is coming from the NFL on CBS. Since 1950, minimum of 50 games coached. Are you ready for the top 4 list for winning percentage? John Madden, 759, Hall of Famer. Vince Lombardi, 738, Hall of Famer. George Allen, 712, Hall of Famer. Nick Sirianni, 694.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, people.
But it's all about the coordinators.
Sirianni people.
How crazy, honestly, though. I know that we play the shtick up and I go over the top. It's fun. It's hilarious.
I don't think you're going over the top. It's your genuine
feeling. But, I mean, come on, man. This is ridiculous now at this point. This guy's up there with 3 Hall of Fame coaches.
Why do you get so personally offended?
Somebody just said Bill immediately goes into attack mode.
You do. You get personally offended like it's your child or something, like it's a relative.
The reason I get so angry is because we have a really good coach right now that has won a ton of games here, and we are going to continue.
We're going to drive him out of town? Is that what your argument is going to be? Oh, we're going to drive him out of town. He's not going to want to be here.
It's absurd to me, the over-the-top reaction that this guy gets.
He rubs people the wrong way. Deal with it. He doesn't rub you the wrong way. You love him.
Oh, he rubs me the right way.
People have different opinions on this guy.
Yeah, but what's the most important thing? What do we care about more than anything? It's wins. That's all we care about.
Let me just read this text from our tweet from Ken W. Ken W. says, the Eagles are good, but they need to beat a few teams with winning records. The Eagles have only beaten one team with a winning record on game day, the Commanders. Being 8-2 with a weak schedule is nice, but they haven't really been tested by tougher competition. Ravens are next. Well, what do you think of that?
What about the Green Bay Packers? Oh, see, he's saying on game day.
Yeah.
But that would be incorrect because they beat the Saints on game day that had a winning record. He eliminated the Packers because they didn't have a winning record because they were 0-0 at the time. Yeah, there you go. See, if we were in court, I would have destroyed that
argument. Let's go back to the phones. Dennis in Springfield. Thanks for hanging, Dennis.
Yeah, good afternoon, guys. First of all, Chase Daniel's a jackass. So, so clear, get that out of the way. Mike, the last time I talked to you, my son, who was now a sophomore in college, I think he was a junior in high school, and we're sitting out back listening here, and he says to me, I like this guy. So it's been a while, and you've had.
And if you go to the next house, there'll be somebody in the backyard going, "I hate that guy."
Well, he's very socially aware and politically involved, so I think he liked your leanings a little bit at the time. So that's why he liked you. But
yeah, because his sports takes are terrible.
But anyway, I mean, I'm going to be, I guess, facetious here is the word. But if the NBA was able to remove Sam Hinkie and install Colangelo, they have got to step in and do something with this Sixers team, because they're creating a fraud, and they're taking people's money. How do you give a cripple a 3-year extension and then sign Paul George and then sell season tickets like everything's hunky-dory? This is a disgrace that the Sixers are being allowed to do, not only on Sixer fans, but across the league. There are people that buy tickets to see this team as a whole team, and it's not happening. And the commission, the NBA commissioner has to, step in, void these contracts,
they had
remove Morey.
They have tried to implement rules that prevent the guys sitting out for no reason. Now, unfortunately, this is under the guise of an injured knee, so this is how they're able to do this. I don't think the league is happy about this, but these are questions I would love to ask the general manager, the president of basketball operations, who is in control of all this, and I think he has a responsibility to answer some questions.
I mean, at least Hinkie was above board and says we're basically tanking for a year or two. If you want to buy tickets, fine. This, I mean, Joshua Harris, who nobody ever sees or hears from, he's got to be.
He's at courtside every game, Dennis. And it perturbs me that he's at courtside every game because he looks like the happy, oblivious clam to the whole thing. If I'm an owner, I'm ticked off. I'm not sitting in those seats showing any happiness eating popcorn. Now, that's just me, and he owns the team, and he's entitled to do whatever he wants to do, but this is like recreation to him. It's not recreation to a lot of other people.
Oh, you hung? I thought you were still going at it with him.
No.
Yeah.
It's what bugs me. I listen. Okay, he owns those seats. I get it. But I'm going, dude, you're watching this disaster, and
he's eating popcorn.
And you're eating popcorn with the family, and when they come off, you're giving them a high five. I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either. It's just very frustrating that it seems like the season's already done. And I know we were going over the numbers. They could still make the playoffs. There's still a 50% chance. It's just.
He gives off the aura of the owner. And listen, I know the way he does business, he tries to hire expert people and stays out of things that he doesn't know. But it doesn't seem to matter to him. He's got like the Commanders, and he's got the Devils, and he's got this soccer team, and it's like, I'm just here to have a snack. And it bugs me.
I understand it, but it's right now, when I'm looking at the Sixers, though, I think Josh Harris would be far down on the list of issues.
I get it, but it's like, to me, it's part of it. It's visible. Like, I see him at the games. And, I don't know. Don't get me started.
I know.
This thing depresses me. The Godfather checking in from Washington Township. What's up, Godfather?
Hey, Mike. First, I'm glad you're a little annoyed, if that's the right word, with Josh Harris. It's good to see you not giving him a pass.
I give him a pass for his methodology.
Wait, I didn't call him back, though. I didn't call about that.
All right, go ahead.
Throw that in.
All right.
I'm usually in simpatico with you, but I lean towards the other counselor in terms of the Barkley ball. I wouldn't have held him up, but hey, he could have done a signed jersey. Doesn't have to be a game jersey. But the guy a couple of tickets to a game. Don't you think that would have been a nice gesture on his part?
Well, it would have been a nice gesture. Maybe that's happening behind the scenes. I don't know. But, like, to hold up a star player because you want more because he tossed the football to you and he made the mistake of tossing the football to you. I mean, come on. Well, what are we in this for?
You're not holding on.
You're holding the guy up. You're holding. Stop it.
People on YouTube made a good point that those seats are probably $20,000 seats. So the guy doesn't need money or anything.
I'm still leaning towards your colleague here on this one, but more importantly, do we all agree that what the Eagles need is a really strong edge rusher to replace Brandon Graham? And what's really out there that's going to take up the space and the number of snaps and the performance that we got from him? I've lost track of Hassan Reddick. Is he on anybody's active roster?
Yeah, he's
on the
signed
Jets.
with the Jets.
Is there no way for Howie to work some magic with that?
No,
deal?
the trading deadline is over. You can't get anybody.
The trade deadline's over. Now, there's a name that's floating around. I mentioned this to Mike earlier, but Shaq Barrett, who retired this season, just announced through Drew Rosenhaus that he wants to get reinstated. The issue here is, one, Shaq Barrett, he was retired for a reason. He's a couple years removed from his best seasons, but he was a good edge rusher. The Miami Dolphins still retain his rights because when he retired, he was on the Dolphins roster. So for the Eagles to sign him, although other people and other stations don't do research, but for the Eagles to sign him, the Dolphins would have to release him. They would have to release him from their roster. You can't just go and sign a guy from another roster. So we'll see what happens there, but that's an option. I think Shaq Barrett, though, wants to play for Tampa or maybe even Miami.
See, that's desperado. Like, what kind of shape? Was he working it every day like he's an NFL player? Like, what are you getting? They've tried to get these retread-type guys before that they were total mistakes. This guy, you think this guy is going to be better than the Kevin Byards of the world that they got?
What you're looking for right now are bodies, and they did sign a guy yesterday. Who would they sign? Forgetting his name now. Ray, help me out here.
You'd sign somebody off somebody's practice squad that would be better than a retread who's been out of the game.
KJ Henry.
Yeah, that's what they did yesterday. They signed KJ Henry. So I don't know. There's not going to be any needle movers out there, but you need bodies. Maybe it's Teron Jackson off the practice squad that you have for the Eagles. When we look at the team, we talked about this yesterday. The biggest weakness they have is a lack of depth on the edge. And will that come back to haunt them? It's yet to be seen.
Yeah. Austin Hayes all over again.
Speaking of edge, I threw this out to you
Story
earlier.
on him today.
Real quick, Brandon Graham. Pro Football Focus says he should make a case for the Hall of Fame. I'm not seeing it, Mike. As much as I love BG.
What's the case?
I'm not seeing it. Well, they're going through, the whole article goes through that he affected games more than just sacks.
Are you teasing tomorrow's show?
No.
610-632. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 10.
146 closing arguments. He's bringing up BG to the Hall of Fame.
The story for tomorrow.
Let's stay on an extra hour, and we'll debate that, Bill.
I'll do another few hours with you if you want.
Okay. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for closing arguments.
Now, closing arguments on the Mike Missanelli Show. Brought to you by Lowenthal and Abrams Injury Attorneys. Injured in an accident, call 800-876-LAWYER or visit LowenthalAbrams.com.
Folks, these are all hypothetical sports arguments that you would have with your friends or sitting on a bar stool with your neighbor. It's about the projection of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we don't know how this season is going to turn out. But I am asking people, and we talked a lot today about the Eagles now being proclaimed a Super Bowl contender. We have made that leap. We can no longer get the toothpaste back in the tube, right? We have to discuss whether that's a possibility. And so right now, there are people, most of the people in the NFL think that the Lions are a little better than the Eagles, but the Eagles are right there. So it's 1 and 2. So what are our expectations, and what would be the level of devastation now that we have this Super Bowl picture in our mind? What would be the level of the devastation if they did not get to the Super Bowl, if they lost to the Lions in the NFC title game? Would we be devastated by that? Well, this is something we have to consider. They have moved into loftier heights now. It was all fun and games when we were discussing how far they could go. Now we know how far they can go. We know that they're one of the top 2 teams in their conference. And so it comes down to whether they can actually win that game to get to the big game. And if they don't, how are you going to feel about that? That's just a little Thanksgiving Day conversation over some mashed potatoes and some green bean casserole that you can have. Billy?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of good Thanksgiving conversation. Yeah, I'm at the point where I would be devastated if they don't at least make the NFC Championship game. But depending on how that game goes, where it is, I don't know if I'd be devastated if they lost to the Lions. I think they could certainly beat the Lions. I don't think the Lions are better. I think it would be a toss-up. But it is incredible that we sit here in a season where we went in this offseason with a lot of people predicting that maybe the coach would be fired by the bye week in week 5. And now 11 games in, and we're talking Super Bowl or bust. And I love it. I'm going to try to enjoy every moment of this, and I'm telling the fans to do the same. Get excited. Let yourself go all in. There's nothing to be scared about. Don't have to worry about protecting yourself from hurt. You have a very good football team on both sides of the football that is built for January. With the level of physicality they play with the style of offense that they have, they are built to win in January. Super Bowl or bust?
Hell yeah.
Let's do it, Ray.
All right. That's what the theme might be for future weeks when the Eagles start playing. Of course, they lose to the Ravens. That'll take a kick in the ass. But I just want to say one thing for Ray. Ray is a very creative man. And Ray develops a show sheet for us every day.
Yes.
And so he usually puts the scores, though, we have the scores charted.
Correct.
Of the Philadelphia team. So he starts out with Eagles 37, Lions 20.
Rams.
Yeah, that's a good typo for me.
Yeah.
See where my mind was.
Yeah, so.
Oh, it says Lions on there?
It says Lions.
I saw that after I printed it this
Lions
morning.
on there, but we got the message. And then it says Golden Knights 5 Flyers 4 in overtime, which happened last night.
They were up 3-0 in that game, too.
And then it says on Sunday, Clippers a lot, Sixers not much.
How I felt sitting there.
So on that note, we got to tell you the Sixers play the Rockets tomorrow night at home. Enjoy your night out at the Wells Fargo Center because you won't see Embiid or Paul George again tomorrow. Have fun, though. Have some pizza on me. Have a great rest of the night, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.